Corporation. And now, bingo, the video stream is up for the Old Tube Radio Network. Here in Central California, 27085 is the frequency, channel 11. If you can hear us, that's great. If not, well, then it probably wouldn't make any difference what I say. But try us out at oldtuberadio.net on your Universal Media Netweb, or hello to those who are tuning in now on the video-audio stream that I think is actually happening here. It says that it is. This is the first week of our new 8-week roster, which means that I must find the items of interest here that Bozo Control, he's gone through and looked at all those who have perfect attendance in the last 8 weeks so that I can choose a new 00 to get to. You just can't start the roll call unless there's a 00. So if I don't mess up the microphone here, I'm decked out with the Christmas bow, and the Christmas tree is back here in the dark. And let's see, pick one. Pick a number, only one number. How about this one right? Oops. No, that one, this one. Only one, please. All right, there it is. Only one. And that would be SWL, I can't even read my own writing. SWL 56, Mr. Phil. Mr. Grandpa, who is out there directing traffic, no doubt, on Christmas Tree Lane, saying, go this way, don't go down my street. Are you out there, Phil?
Yeah, I put keyed and doubled on you.
Oh, sorry. I'm always excited here when we start out, so let me mark down that you are our 00 for the next 8 weeks. And we will get an X in the square. You're sounding good.
Oh, thank you, Dennis.
And if I know how to do this, we do a check in the square, and 00 is checked in, and you'll get the 2 for 1 when we get to page 3, I think it is. All right, here we go, everybody. And hello to those who are out at the video page. Let me take a quick look. Lots of you out there. I know it is close to Christmas time on the weekend. Probably a lot of you already have family or are out visiting. So if you can't make it into the radio room tonight to take a transmission, no problem. If you can't get to the radio, you can always check in at oldtuberadio.net that way as well. So I'll keep an eye out for whoever might be out there listening in tonight. 00 is checked in. SWL1 is checked in. SWL2, Mr. OBP Kevin, who is over waving a hand to our video listeners. We have a chat going on over there. If you'd like to get involved with that, just click on the link right on the main page at oldtuberadio.net, and I think it'll take you right over there. And thank you, Kevin. I think you said, I noticed that no sunspots, 0. 0 today, 0 yesterday, although the bands are open, lower frequencies, and someone even reported they were hearing some DX this morning on this band here, but things will get better. SWL3, Rob checking in, saw him Thursday at the bowling alley where he, what's the word? Beat the pants off me, I guess. Nah, better not say that. Anyway, he had a 256 game, so he may be high in the league. How about SWL4? SWL5, I did see Mama Rose early in the week. SWL6. SWL7.
SWL7 checking in.
Checking in and sounding good. Thank you, Ed. Get you checked in, looking good. SWL11 and 12 are checked in via email over to SWL13. I will keep an eye out for Mr. Cobra, who often checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which is a good way to do it if you cannot get to your radio device. SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. SWL 17. Shortwave listener 18. SWL 19. SWL 20. Good. You know, I was looking for a note. I thought maybe I was supposed to have you proxied in, but you have hopefully not sustained injury running into the radio room there.
I don't run anymore. That's why I'm late. Okay, 20 and 29, if you would be so kind, and proxy us in for next week. I'll be working. And if I stay awake, I might check in a radio.
Okay, we'll try and provide enough entertainment here to keep you awake, and hopefully in about 30 minutes we'll be starting with the tube radio check-ins. Actually, no, tonight I was supposed to, and while you're here, Harvey, let me continue with you. Someone had asked, and I thought it was a good question. They were curious as to what type of antennas people are running. I think they might be taking a tally, see what the most popular, most used antenna is, vertical, horizontal, big stick, super penetrator, something like that. So my question to you is, what antenna are you running?
Well, I'm running one of those fiberglass Antron 99 with a ground plane kit. I'd rather be running an all-metal ground plane, one of those big bad boys, but I don't have enough room for that. So, and it depends on what you plan to do. If you're going to shoot skip a lot, you know, stuff like that, you get a beam of some kind along with a ground plane, but those days are over for me, so I just run this right now. If I ever get some more room, I'll put up the big bad boy ground plane and maybe a beam, just so I can have a nice back door. But right now, just a fiberglass Antron 99, I think it is, or actually I think it says SolarCon, which might be the same thing, with the ground plane kit.
All right, good. The SolarCon A99, and your skip days are not over, because we are heading into the days where there will be more than 0 sunspots. So you just never know who may want to give you a call. All right, thanks for answering my question there. And let's see, you know, I missed Ed. Are you still there, 7?
Yes, I am.
Your antenna, at least for this, I guess for this band, let's. A lot of people have lots of antennas, but let's just keep it to this. For this frequency, what antenna do you run?
A Cirro 2016.
Cirro 2016. I think I've been eyeballing one of those, one of the Cirro items. How do you like it?
Oh, I like it a lot for the simple fact you can load it up on multiple bands. It's very broad-banded.
Okay, Ed, I'm transmitting. Ed is also a ham radio operator, so that even if you're SWLing or maybe wanting to transmit something to think about for the 10-meter band or maybe down on 17, you can listen anywhere with a piece of wire or any antenna, but when it comes to transmitting, sometimes you do have to have something that will at least make you heard, even if it's in the NVIS mode. All right, thanks for that.
Oh, no problem. And it works exceptionally well, actually, on 40, which is weird.
All right. Well, you know, the multiple thing, the 40 works well on 15, and the 20 works well, or 40. But, okay, interesting. Through the tuner, I might add, right?
Oh, yeah, I run that through the tuner.
All right. Well, 40 is a good mobile band during the day. There's a little small loaded whip sometimes does quite well on the NVIS stuff. All right, thanks for that information. Directed net roll call here to the Old Tube Radio Network. Anyone listening, whether on the streams or the chat, if you want to chime in with your current antenna of choice or some antenna suggestions, feel free to type that in there. We'll take a look, and there are other people who are probably interested. 20 is in. SWL 21, Mr. JT, who was in earlier, saying ho, ho, ho from his home, QTH. And thanks for checking in there out of the beautiful, but perhaps soggy Wasama Swamps there in South Carolina. We've got you checked in here for this first check-in on the new 8-week period. The last check-in, no, it's not the last check-in for 2008. That will be next week. First check-in before the holidays here. Let's see. I guess we're done looking at me. You know what we're going to do as well? Let me put on the Orban loudness meter, get rid of the control room here so you can get an idea if I put on the right camera here. There you go. You can see if you're loud enough. The old Tube Radio Network. 21 is in. How about SWL 20? Nobody there. SWL 23. SWL 24. SWL 25.
25 checking in, Dennis, and Merry Christmas to you and all of the SWLs. Back to you. Tell him he's got a squeal.
All right, I think that's the good kind of squeal. SWL 25 checking in and sounding good. And how does the Christmas poem go? There's things hung by the chimney with care in hopes that Bozo Control will not be there. Got you checked in, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
Then over to page 2 for SWL 27. Oh, wait. Don't go away, Jerry. What antenna? And you always do a good job here. Jerry is not that close to me. He's not. He's over the hill and through the woods just beyond Grandma's house. What antenna are you running? Over. Uh-oh, don't tell me you went away. Hello, Jerry, 25, over. Wow, that's a quick transmission. We'll find out. He'll probably check on the radio later. SWL 27. He's coming in on the crossband. He's coming in on the crossband here.
Yes, he is.
All right, thank you, sir. KB6GFD. I didn't have my volume up very loud there on the crossband, but I did hear Dwayne checking in SWL 27, another Antron Solarcon A99 multi-frequency for 11, 10, 17, 12, if you ever find anybody on 12 meters. Looks like a good choice for the higher frequencies as well, and maybe you can squeeze something out of 40 meters on that if you've got the right tuner. Thanks, Dwayne, for that information. We will have a proxy check-in for Mr. Loner, SWL 29. Make sure I checked in all those on page 1. Over to SWL 31. Robert and Teresa, and I know, let's see, I got to use this screen. I know they are out there tonight, I believe. Let me see. Hendersonville, Tennessee is on our map tonight. Hello to all you out there, and Merry Christmas here from Central California. Over to SWL 32.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR, go ahead, please.
Hey, Dennis, I didn't mean to run away from the mic. You were asking me about the antenna. Actually, this is an AR-10. It's actually a 10-meter vertical, and I'm just running 11 meters through it. But, however, I do have the 11-meter vertical with the radials that has your name on it. When you're ready for it. But anyway, that's the antenna, and I apologize for having to jump away from the radio. Anyway, back to that.
All right, thanks for the update there. I think that may be similar to an Antron 99, or what's the other one, a Ringo Ranger, but it's, yeah, like I said, it's a 10-meter, and you can probably adjust it for a little bit longer for this band, or it'll be broadbanded enough for in between. Does a good job. Definitely does a good job. So thanks for the update on that. The old Tube Radio Network here. We will be talking about the Tube radios coming up. Right now we're checking in the shortwave listeners and doing a little antenna discussion, finding out what everyone is running and how it works for them on various frequencies. SWL 32, I'm going to have a proxy check-in for Mr. Doyle. SWL 33, I have a check-in for the gang here at Net Control, Bozo Control, the Jingle Singers, and whoever else might wander in. Then that takes us up to SWL 35. Let me check the big page here. And Mr. Bill, who's a busy guy these days, with the trailer full of goodies out there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And there he is, 21 minutes ago, from snowy Cheyenne. Well, I guess in the middle of December, just before Christmas, if it wasn't snowing in Cheyenne, Wyoming, you might be concerned. Thanks, Bill, for checking in. And Bill could probably run any antenna he wants. He's probably got many from which to choose. Not sure what he's got set up for a base or a mobile situation right now, but always sounding good when we can hear him, and I'm sure we will when the band and the conditions start opening up. Thanks for checking in. How about Mr. Apache, SWL 36?
Yeah, 36 is big stick.
The classic big stick. I have one. That's the antenna that I ran when I began checking in and net controlling and doing all the things with the old tube radio network. I had it up on top of my tower when I had the tower up at 70 feet, and it always worked well. I don't recall that I could tune it very well for maybe 10 meters, but some of the other bands, it didn't do all that well. It's not in the best condition. It's got a fiberglass bottom, and I moved it base area. I moved it the other day, and it was like, oh, you need to put on your gloves if you're going to get anywhere near this bristling fiberglass shards coming out of that big stick. So maybe that's one thing to think on the big stick. If they still sell them, I don't know. Mine is probably, what is it, 2018? Mine is certainly 30 years old, but I bet it would still work just fine. Thanks for checking in, Roy. Let's go over, and I think he is out here tonight. SWL 37, Chris.
37 checking in, Dennis. And we are running the Mako V5000. Now, Larry's been over here, and we've run it from here all the way to 20 meters.
Yeah, if you've got a tuner, well, it'll listen to anything, but if you want to transmit, definitely have to have a tuner for that. If you've got any type of metal outside in the air and a decent SWL type radio, which you do, should work fine. You are sounding good. I hear that you may be heading back in for what did Jim used to call it, Dr. J, an adjustment. But in the meantime, as you know, they have gotten very good at doing those adjustments, if you will.
Yeah, and apparently I've got a pretty good doctor compared to what my daughters have told us. You know, I forgot one that works for a heart cath lab over by St. Agnes, and my other daughter, she works out there at the veterans home out there, West Fresno out there. And they've talked to their doctors, and they say he is one of the best. So I'm kind of lucky. But yeah, I go in Friday at 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock Friday. They slip me open and start doing a triple bypass, and they got to change the valve.
Okay, and then, like the Wizard of Oz, he'll be as good as new. Well, I just saw you not too long ago, and you've been taking care of yourself, so that's a big plus. Doctors like it when you walk in and you are, albeit whatever condition they're fixing there, that you are a generally healthy type person, so that will do well. All right, well, speedy recovery. Obviously, they want to get you in and get you done, so that'll be good for us. That way, we won't be missing you too much here. Maybe just a week. Maybe just a week off. I'll make sure you get checked in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to keep me on status as a proxy there for a while. For I don't know exactly how long. I know I'm going to be in the hospital roughly a week and a half, and they say actually it takes about 3 months to recover from all of this.
Yeah, neither of us are 32 years old, or it might take 2 months. So 3 months is probably a good thing. All right, Chris, like I say, you're sounding good, and we'll be thinking about you. We'll get you checked in, and like I said, you will come back the 37 plus.
I wish I was only 37.
Yeah, I think there might be a few of us who want the magic wand to wave, but it's still doing okay. Thanks for checking in. And the antenna, the Mako 5000, always doing a good job. That's another one that's on my list of perhaps antennas to pick up. Thanks.
Well, you know, I told you I still got one in the garage, newer than the one that's up there.
Okay, yeah, the Mako 49.95, the big discount. So, I guess my ultimate thing should be find a decent mount to get the thing up in the air. We are directing that roll call, page 2. Taking a little bit of time here to find out what antennas people are using. Don't go away if you're listening or waiting for the radios. They'll be here shortly on your old Tube Radio Network. Dr. Dan, SWL 39, are you in the house this evening?
Yes, the doctor's in the house.
You are sounding good, really good into my radio. So I take it you are not using the wet noodle antenna.
No, I disposed of that one. I'm just, I got a little bitty quad antenna up there, PDL2.
The PDL2, which is, I think it's in a true quad configuration, unlike the Moonraker, which select the vertical elements beam to select the horizontal element beam. I think the PDL2 runs a quad, but you have it, obviously you have it in the vertical polarity because I hear you well.
Yeah, it's vertical, and I think it has about an 18-foot wire on it, so I think it's supposed to be a full wave.
Yeah, I think that's the way you do a quad and then feed it from one of the corners for horizontal and vertical. 2-element beam. It has a director and a reflector. I don't think they make them anymore. I'm not sure if they make knockoffs of them. It's a very popular antenna for those who have had one or still have one. And you can find out more, I guess. Just search for PDL2. I can't remember if it was Antenna Specialists made those or Avanti. Somebody did. It sounds good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was lucky. I found a new old stock, so that's, I held, it took me about 10 or 12 years to put it up finally, but it's up there now.
Okay, not because it's difficult to put up. Sometimes it just takes 10 or 12 years to open the box. It only takes a week to get the antenna up. I think the weak link on those, from what I hear, there's some type of a hub that holds things together, and after a certain amount of time, they may go bad, and it might be hard to find. Thanks, Dan. You are sounding good. We got you checked in. Over to SWL 40.
Yes, SWL 40. Watching everything on the software-defined receiver. I have now inline all the time. I had to design a special key-down circuit for my radio to bypass the SDR when I go to transmit. And that's just for this radio. The other radios I haven't figured out. I haven't got a solution yet. So I may not hook up the old tube radio tonight.
It's always good to have a picture of what's happening and to not blow up your SDR. And then the quick question for you, and I know you have occasionally stepped into the homebrew mode for antennas, what you're running for your 11-meter item.
This time we're just running a basic big stick. I think it's an Antron 90. Yeah, I believe it's an Antron 99, if I'm not mistaken. It's got the adjustable coil or adjustable rings on the bottom, and it's 3 pieces, and I think it's about 17 feet long.
An antenna that's still available, the A99. Also, I think you can still find them for under $100. I think that's perhaps why they are popular. I don't want to hold the roll call too much. But you have experimented with homebrew antennas, have you not, for 11 meters, where you've made the hanging dipoles?
Oh, yes. Many different kinds. Let's see, over there, when I used to live in the Tower District, I had a homebrew vertical, a 5/8 ground plane, and I used the branches of the tree as to hold the wire for the ground plane, and then I set in a aluminum pole, sort of nestled it in several branches, and that was my 5/8 ground plane at 50 feet above the ground in a tree.
And it worked okay?
Oh, yes. I worked Australia on it, and all the worldly contacts that could be made. And let's see, it worked very nicely. It matched up on the 10 meters and the 11 meters.
All right, good deal. So just a note, if you don't have that $100 for the commercial antenna, you can always build something out of wire and make it resonant enough. Feed it with coax. I suppose you could make it non-resonant and feed it with some window line or ladder line. Thanks, Larry, for letting us know about that. Continuing with the roll call, SWL 41, SWL 42.
Good evening, Dennis and Net, 42, 90, and 137 checking in. We're running I guess you could call it a J-pole, 3/4, Vector 4000 Stereo.
All right, the Stereo Vector 4000, that has, I'll call it the hoop, or where it comes up from the bottom when it has the little hoop going on.
Yeah, like Dennis calls it, a snow cone. Yeah, that's it. And I'm telling you, man, he's the one that turned me on to it, and it's definitely one of the better antennas I've ever run. Versatile, with the right tuning, you can get, with no tuner, you can run 10, 11, and 12 meter on it.
All right, good deal. Another one for that. That's another one I'm looking at. I've seen some pictures. I guess they'll whip around a little bit in a high wind, but so will a IMAX 2000. But it's an interesting design, like you said, more like a J-pole, and I think that design has been around for a while and tested. A lot of people like them, and it sounds great here for sure. Thanks for checking in. We'll get all the other stations too.
For sure. I'll let Dennis elaborate more on his, and it's definitely worth the money. Thanks again.
All right, thank you. SWL 43. Thought I heard Eddie in there moments ago. Okay, well, we'll be here. We'll probably do an extended net tonight because we're taking some time on the shortwave listeners, which is good. So make sure we can get everybody checked in. Thanks for the update. SWL 44, who runs anything that the coax will connect to. He should be able to run that. Hello, Ray. SWL 44. Let me just double confirm. I see you on the list in there talking about the fans and all that good stuff. Thank you. There you go. SWL 45.
You sounded great tonight, Dennis. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. 45 checking in.
Merry Christmas to all, indeed. What, Paul, you always could put a good signal. Now, you've got a little bit of altitude over the Flatlanders here, but your antenna works well. What are you using?
Yeah, I'm talking on my Moonraker, and I'm running about 3,000 feet up here.
So, helps to have a little bit of focusing elemental devices sometimes to pump down in the valley. Always a good signal. And the Moonraker, the ability to go horizontal and vertical with the four elements. I think those are, what's it, like a 16-foot or an 18-foot boom. Work well. Classic, another one I don't think they make anymore. Thanks.
Thank you.
SWL 46. SWL 47.
Hey, good evening from the Radio Lounge, SWL 47, where we are using an IMAX 2000, which it's not mounted so high off the ground that I have to put a warning light on the very top of it. But I suppose it works.
Works well here for local. You have any problem with wind or anything messing it up?
No, and that's always a good topic of discussion about these antennas. Now, the 2000s they're really flexible, and if it's really, really windy outside, it'll really turn your hair white. These things definitely bend a lot. There have been quite a few times I've watched it in a windstorm and thought that sucker was coming down or going to break or whatever, but now it hasn't failed, and that's exactly what everyone else said online back when I bought it, you know.
And in the Central Valley here, we get winds, but certainly not gale force winds, so I would think they're a good choice. I have IMAX 2000. I'm not running it, but it had an issue with the mount where it came off of the mount and fell halfway, and that amount of force actually snapped the fiberglass whip top part. So I guess similar to high wind. So it is in need of repair, but I have seen on Facebook some of the shots of the guys showing their IMAX 2000 kit after the high winds. Thanks for checking in, Mike, and giving us the antenna update.
Oh, yeah, thanks. No worries. And, yeah, I think some folks that use these antennas where it's really cold outside, I think I remember hearing something about the antenna snapping if they got too cold or whatever, but I don't think we need to concern ourselves with that here. So, anyways, thanks. Back to you.
Back to me in the studio. Well, hopefully we don't. SWL 48. Sammy sometimes checks in on the Facebook site. We'll check out that mode of operation for those of you who are doing that. SWL 49, putting an X in the square for our first 8-week period for the computer man, Brian, who was tuned in earlier. He's in Wisconsin. Says he's running an A99. Seems to be a popular antenna. I'm not sure if he's still dialed in since it's kind of late, and you just never know what you need to do in the morning, but he's on the list. So good to hear from you, Brian. Yes, you are on the schedule here, and we are looking forward to hearing you on the air, whether it's a local trip this way or maybe in the skip conditions as well. I believe Brian also has his ham license, so maybe we'll hear him up on the 10-meter AM window when we start doing things that way. Also, since I'm on the list here, Ross talking about his Super Mag. Wow, the Super Magnum. The antenna specialist call it Super Mag. I used to call it Super Mag. That is an oldie but goodie. Let's see, we're coming up to you, Stan. JT, we went past you. He's running the Shockwave. So for those of you who may need to run really, really close, how do I put this? May need to run really, really close to that 4 to 5 watt output limit on your radio. Something like a Shockwave might be a good idea. Handle the power occasionally. I mean, if you do that audio thing and push it up to 6 or 7 watts, that should work. Steve, Bob, the Ohio contingent requesting seats in the balcony. And Garth Brooks and friends somewhere up there. I don't know who our celebrities are watching tonight. Hello to W4NRM, November Romeo Mike. Checking in from, not sure your location, but wishing all the radio operators and SWLs a Merry Christmas. And thanks for tuning in to the Old Tube Radio Network here. 27085 is where we are at in Central California on the RF side, and then everywhere else at oldtuberadio.net. Continuing on with the roll call, SWL50.
And good evening, 50 checking in, and I am running approximately 1,900 foot tall Solarcon IMAX 2000.
The IMAX 2K with a little bit of, what do they call it, HAAT, height above average terrain. He is above the average terrain, always putting in a really good signal here. I think you could do the wet noodle. Still give me a really nice signal. Thanks, Mark. We got you checked in. SWL 51.
51 checking in. I'm running Stereo Gain Master.
The Stereo Gain Master. All right, another stereo. What do you think of that compared to, I don't know how long you've had it, but say compared to something else that you had?
A little bit of feedback there. It runs really good. The decoupling tune at the bottom, it's really great for any kind of RF feedback or common mode on the coax, which I had IMAX before, which bled over everything.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. When I went back to the Starduster from the IMAX, that took care of a lot of my RF issues into the poorly shielded radio equipment here. But I think performance-wise, the IMAX might be a little bit better antenna, but it seems like you can't go wrong with the Stereo. Sounding good, Dave. Thanks for checking in.
Check. Yeah, I had a ugly bomb. I even tried it with IMAX, but it didn't really do any good. This one the Game Master has one built into it, so it does a hell of a job. At least for what I need. It's not up very high. It's only about 25, 26 feet off the ground, so it does what I need.
Yeah, it does well. Dave, SWL51 is another station that is not very close to my location here. I'm running a very low-mounted Starduster, so I'm always amazed that, one, people can hear me at all, and two, how well the stations who are not within easy line of sight come in around here. So thanks, Dave, for that. I even tried the ugly balun where you're wrapping the 6, 7, 8 coils of coax and trying to get the RF out and one-to-one baluns, and it still would have issues with RF on the 2000. But it did play well. I got really good reports when it was up in the air. We are going to SWL 52. SWL 53.
Hello, Dennis. 53 checking in.
Sounded good, Bob. Thanks for a run. Your good run on the 00. You were in the running. I thought you might get another chance at it there, but somebody just up the street from you here on 56 is taking over. So thanks for checking in. Oh, and your antenna.
I'm running a fiberglass 99 Entra 99.
A99. How's that? How long have you had that up in the air?
Probably about 7 years. I used to run a penetrator 4-element ground plane. I would rather prefer that, but I got rid of it for certain reasons, and I put the 99 Entra 99 here, 4 feet off the roof.
Still working strong. I never have a problem hearing you, and I know you can be a player when the skip is running too, so it's working out for you. Thanks for checking in.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.
Page 3, directing that roll call. The radios will be coming up. Just checking on the antennas here that our stations are running. SWL 54. SWL 55. And the station we checked in is 00. That might still be tinkering around the workshop and heading over to the coiled microphonium accord. SWL 56.
Well, good evening, Dennis and the net. I'm trying to think of what antenna I'm using. It was gifted to me by Dr. J many moons ago. It's fiberglass, and I want to say Antron 99, but I sure don't know.
Well, it's working. Your signal is still up there, so I would say it's all connected. And sometimes, an antenna's like that. As long as it works and you don't see it hanging over outside the window or in front of the driveway, you don't have to pull pins out of the coax, and no one's complaining about the signal. You just kind of don't think about it too much. And yours is one of those. Always puts in a good signal here. Thanks for checking in.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
SWL 57. Shortwave listener 59. SWL 60.
Hello, Dennis and crew. Doggone it, Merry Christmas to you all. Dennis, we're going to stick with the old Solarcon, the old IMAX 2000. This little thing's been a charm for me. And I don't have static levels for some reason or another. I don't know if it's the radio. Maybe the radio don't have that problem. But anyway, we're going to stay with the Solarcom, the IMAX 2000. It fits my needs here. And SWL 60 checking in the 2901 base, Jerry's base.
Well, the radio seems to love it. Sometimes you can tell the radio's not happy if you've got a bad match or some bad coax and antenna's not where it wants to be. Always plays well. Do you run they have a ground plane kit. Are you running it with the ground plane kit?
No, I've inquired about it several times. And if someone out there would tell me something good about it, I might go with it.
Well, that's sort of my research. My research was that it's there. You don't need it, especially if you want to run wide band. That is to say, you want to go up to 10 meters or down to 12 or down to 17, then you might not want the ground plane kit. You might want to make a modified ground plane kit. So for the extra $40, $50, whatever it is, might be well spent on some other accessory for the radio. Sounding good as always, sir, and thanks for checking in.
Thank you much, Dennis.
And Ray mentions, and I just read this, by the way. It says, if you lose your top section on the IMAX 2K, a 102-inch whip works well. There were some stations saying they had done exactly that, and it worked quite fine. So that may be for a secondary antenna. Trying the 102-inch whip. I wonder if I could take the top part of the... It's got to have the right threads. I think whatever the threads are pretty universal for that. So maybe something I want to try. Let's see if we can find Dino, SWL 61.
61, check it in, Dennis.
All right, sounding good. I'm not sure what antenna you run, your favorite mobile or base antenna. What have you got there?
It's a 5/8 ground plane. Here's the house. It's a 5/8 ground plane. Tip of a Sublite 88 feet.
Okay, good old 5/8. Got your quarter wave, your half wave, the 5/8, which I guess research shows might play a little bit better on the all-around gain than say like a big stick or something like that. Always plays good here. Again, you are not very close to my location, so I appreciate those of you who have good antennas that are up in the sky to bring me out of the mud. Thanks, Dean.
I hear you good out here. If you're in the middle of my meter, you're putting out pretty strong, because I got a stubborn meter. And about the grappling kit for the 99s and stuff, the research I did a while back said it was mainly for better ears.
Better ears, yeah, that might have something to do with if you've got more, atmospheric noise or ground level, something like that, putting the ground plane on there, cutting down the noise, in theory, creating some better ears. Might not bring an S9 signal up to a 5 over, but an S7 signal that's in your S7 noise. If your S7 noise goes down to S6, then that is an improvement. Thank you.
You have a Merry Christmas, Dennis. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you, Dean. Let's head over to downtown Clovis, SWL 62. SWL 63. Checking the big board, see if New York is still hanging in there late in this Saturday evening, early Sunday morning. And indeed, we have Albion, New York, listening, and who else? Sometimes we have 2 or 3 stations out there, but I see one of them. That'll get us a check-in for SWL 63. Over to SWL 64.
I can't believe you finally got to me.
Yeah, it's taken a while tonight. We start talking here, but I'm glad you hung out with us. And your antenna is still up, because I can hear you. What are you using?
Antron 99 up in my pine tree that's about 80 feet.
Antron 99 up in the pine tree. So how did you get, are you good at throwing a lasso? How did you get an Antron 99 up in a pine tree?
Well, a friend of mine had to borrow a 32-foot ladder, and he went up there, and he weighs about 280 pounds.
Well, you've got one healthy pine tree, I take it, that if it holds a 280-pound on the branch, or maybe he got up high enough just to connect it in there. It does well, and it's still working.
Yeah, the branches are like 8 inches in diameter, and we planted it in 1957. And it's a good, it's pretty big, but yeah, but it needs to be resprayed.
Yeah, that'll happen. You know, trees move around a bit and they grow. Probably been mounted okay. You can mount an antenna in a tree the wrong way and mess the tree up. So you got to be careful when you're strapping things to branches. It's best to kind of screw them in. Or there's ways to do it. Sounds like you did a good job with yours. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
SWL 65. SWL 66. SWL 67. Shortwave listener 68. That is our Texas station. I see Venus, Texas. I'm not sure if that's... I don't think that's Thomas out there, but hello to Texas. We've been missing Texas. There's Wichita Falls as well. Thomas, SWL 68 is our longtime digital SWL from Texas. Haven't heard from him in a while. How about SWL 69, Kenny?
69 checking in, Dennis. A Navajo 458 and a Solarcom 99.
And the Solarcom 99. How's the 99 work for you? Pretty good, huh?
Works good as long as I kept it up 60 feet in the air, but I had to drop it down, and I did. Everybody says my signal come down.
There is something about altitude. We've been talking about that with the stations that have the natural 2,000, 2,500 foot average terrain. You can put it up 30 feet. And when you're down here in the valley, sometimes 30 feet works, but as you found out, twice that works better. I hear you great, Ken. We got you checked in.
Thank you.
SWL 70. And SWL 71, Stan, who is in the house tonight talking about his 53-year-old Big Stick. Boy, that's when they first came out. I got mine 30 years ago, and it had his birthday. Oh, man, I never thought about that. For 11 meters, he's still using the Columbia Products Big Stick, and he's going to refurb his Antenna Specialist M119. For those of you who know, that is the super scanner, which requires a control box, and is another antenna that could be 58, 55 years old, and it was a rotatable, I'll call it a rotatable vertical, but it had the 3 elements, and then you had your control box to go like northwest, northeast, or south. That was a very popular antenna back when I was listening in and talking in the late 60s and early 70s. A lot of people had those, and I guess there was the scanner, and then what he's got is the super scanner that had some update, which I can't remember at the moment. 7.5 dB, 8.7 gain in the beam mode, and 5.5 in the omni mode. So yeah, if you can get that refurbished, and the control box is still working, or you know where it is, that should be fun. In the meantime, I guess you can't go wrong with the big stick. Mine is still around. It's just all that fiberglass is kind of nasty. Thanks, Stan, for that information. Let's go with SWL72. SWL73. SWL74. I need to proxy in SWL74, Miss Julie, which I will. SWL75. SWL77.
Good evening, Dennis. 77 checking in. At the moment, I put the Kenwood at exactly 5 watts, transmitting on the V4000 that Jerry mentioned earlier. And it's currently ground-mounted. It's about 6 or 7 foot off the ground at the moment. And I'm going to switch over to the Super Penetrator that's sitting at about 36 feet. So there's the Super Penetrator, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll switch back over to the ground-mounted V4000, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hello to all the listeners.
Wow, good signal. You know, I should have popped up the S meter, and if I did, I think most people would have seen no difference on the meter. Maybe it's hard to tell because you have, when you don't talk, the meter kicks down a dB or 2, so there may be a resting carrier difference. I wish I had a nice analog meter, but I don't, and there is a considerable altitude difference, which to me should make a difference in the S meter, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. So that shows you just how versatile the antenna is. Even though they do get whipped around in the wind if they're up there at 40, 45 feet, 50 feet, I guess. But I don't think you have to run them that high. You can ground mount them like I have this one, and they work just beautiful. It works really good in the DX, and the receive is just as good as the antenna that's up there at 36 feet. So, well, there you go. It does have a 27-foot vertical element. The driven element is 27 feet long. This one I have modified to 31 feet 7 inches, which they call 7/8 of a wave on a J-pole. And it's actually a coaxial J-pole, as they call it. But this one, the vertical driven element is 31 feet 7 inches.
Very, very nice. And I thank all those who are waiting to check in radios that are hanging in with us tonight as we research and talk about antennas. An important thing as we start 2019 and move up in the sunspot cycle, having a good antenna is what you absolutely need when there aren't conditions, and a really nice thing to have when there are conditions. And one last question for you. When you made the modification on the length, did you find an SWR issue? Do you have, once you've done that, do you have to run it through a tuner to get this band okay, or did anything change in that aspect?
That's a good question. What I actually did is I left the gamma match. It does have a gamma match. I left the gamma match at the same setting that it would be for the factory 27-foot driven element. And then I started experimenting with the length of the driven element from about 31 foot flat to about 31 foot 9 or 10 inches. And at 31 feet 7 inches, it went 1-to-1 across the band here on 11 meters, so I left it alone.
Nice. All right, well, keep the data handy. I guess there may be some people that want to inquire and say, what did he do again? It may be named after you. We have the SWL77 modification become worldwide. Thanks for that update, and something I'm putting on my possible list of things to try as well. Thanks.
Yeah, and this is at 5 watts, dead key. It's swinging to about 15.
Sounds good. Nice stuff. Let's see, who else? Somebody mentioned we had talked about the ground plane kit. Butterbean mentioning he put his ground plane kit, and it also helped his receive on the IMAX 2000. So that's a possibility. If you got noise, you might be able to lower the noise and help the receive out a little bit. And a 5/8" droopy drawers. I don't remember. I remember the quarter. The droopy drawer quarter, like a quarter, 102-inch up and 102-inch down, the old droopy drawer antenna, which probably you could easily manufacture. We'll continue with the roll call here so we can get to the radios. 77 is checked in. How about SWL 78? SWL 79? SWL 80? Page 4, SWL 81. SWL 82.
82, check it in from the ditch banks of Iowa. And we're running a Mako 5/8. And when I got it, I think Devanti had it the year before. And I've ran it without the horizontal on it. I just ran the vertical only without the horizontal, and seemed to work good. And it operates from 10, 12, 15, 17, all the way 20 meters. And not too bad.
All right, just for our SWLs tuning in, the Mako, if I'm remembering correctly, the Mako is a metal, I'll call it metallic antenna, not fiberglass. Is that correct?
That is correct. And also, SWL 77, there was a pretty good difference when he switched antennas on mine. The taller one was 20 on my meter, and the lower mounted antenna was 9 plus. So his antennas do make a difference there. The taller one was a lot better.
Okay, and I am probably 3 miles away from his location, and my guess is you are twice that, maybe even 3 times that from where he's at. So sometimes things can get in the way. It's interesting how antennas work. You've got the NVIS, your antenna, your signal goes up and it comes right down. It's like putting a garden hose and throwing it up in the air and you get wet. Then you can put your thumb over the end of the hose and spray it out a little bit farther, or you can turn it the other way, away from you, and make it go out. Then when you get into skip, when you get to sky wave and not ground wave, then all bets are off. Sometimes the ground-mounted stuff works as well or even better. So good to know. Thanks for that report.
All righty. And I also ran the PDL2, but I ran 2 of them. They were on a stacking kit, and quite interesting. It's a lot of antenna and boom up in the air for 30-mile-an-hour wind. So we got nervous with that, traded that in for a Moonraker 4, but that was quite the experience, those PDL2s.
Yeah, that's brave. I've seen the pictures of the guys that stack the Moonraker 4s, and they have to use almost a piece of horizontal tower sideways to hold the antennas up, because they've got to be, about a half a wavelength apart when you stack them to get the separation you need. The PDL2 probably the same way, less wind load, but still a very large amount of hardware dangling up there in the air. But I bet it worked. I bet it worked quite well when you could relax and have a conversation. All right, Ron, thanks for the updates. And as always, you put a great, whatever you're running, whether it's the antenna down on the ditch banks or the Mako, always a good signal here into Net Control. Thanks.
All right, Dennis. Yeah, the antenna's only up probably 40 foot, so, but there's tubes that are glowing. All right, catch you later.
All right, speaking of tubes, we will get to the tube radios. Thanks for hanging out with us here where we talk about antennas. Something very important. The radios are important, but so is the antenna. Good to know what people are running and what they've done and what they like. And you can build them yourself, too. That's another good thing. We are going over to SWL 84.
84, good evening, Dennis. And I take it you're interested in the antenna configurations this evening. Right now I'm running an IMAX 2000, and where it's sitting at the edge of the orchard there, I had to run it about 125 feet of Velimar 400 coax, and seemed to be working okie dokie fine. Fully extended on the tower, measures out to about 84, 85 feet, but it's down one section, so because of the winter and the winter winds and the rains and stuff, it's up about 68 feet right now, and so that's on the 10 and 11 meter side, and the 40 meter, all we're running is a dipole, inverted V dipole, of about 46 feet to the apex, and running it's about 15 feet to the ends. Inverted V northwest by southwest, and it seems to be doing okie dokie fine there. I say that now. I hope it's making a trip to you there, Dennis.
Making a great trip. I remember when you would occasionally elevate or de-elevate the antenna, it would make a difference here. And again, you're probably 9-10 miles out from my location, so in that situation it works well. Not sure if you've ever tried to do the IMAX on 40 meters, but you don't need it. A wire is a wonderful antenna for 40 meters if you can get it up a half a wavelength. It does really well during the day when the band is open. Sounding good, sir. Let's see, what else? Oh, I will get the rest of the gang checked in as well.
Very good. I appreciate it, Dennis. For those out there that are, maybe not versed in the towers there, it's a 60-foot tower, but it's telescoped in the two sections, which makes it about 54 feet, or 54 feet, and the antenna is about 24, and a 10-foot stinger, but it's, like I said, it's down one full section. But anyway, Dennis, thanks for doing what you do. That allows us to do what we like to do, and Merry Christmas to everybody out there, including long-distance land. Roger, Roger.
Good old long-distance land. When we get some sunspots, we will hear it. And through the courtesy of the Universal Media Netweb, we have some stations listening in from long-distance land. Hello to South Carolina, Utah, New York, Georgia, Illinois. We've got Texas, a couple of stations in Texas. 31 still hanging in from Tennessee at a late night. North Carolina, Colorado is in, and Centerville, Virginia, coming up to you. Fayetteville, North Carolina, coming up to you. So hang in there. We'll be checking things in as we check out the antennas tonight before we get to the radio stations. SWL 85. And we've got check-ins for SWL 86, 87, 88. That's the Mountain Maid, Tandy Girl, and the Snowy Owl. Over to SWL 89. Got a proxy check-in for SWL 90. SWL 92. Well, I think I heard Chuck way down. I heard somebody. I'm gonna give a check-in for the Madera station, who is a little bit lower than normal. But I do hear you in there, Chuck, if you are waving a hand over. How about, I never hear any have problems hearing this guy, SWL 93.
SWL Bagger 3 is, I should be number 1, checking in. And I have a question. Did you get my post on the Old Tube Network with the guy with the glasses?
Oh, I got the post. It was on the main page. I'm scrolling down. I don't remember. I think the little icon or whatever the meme, whatever the picture that goes with it. I don't recall if it had glass. Yes. Okay. I just scrolled down. There it is from last week, 1 week ago. The cool looking dude with the sunglasses over.
No, the page that I was on, the guy has glasses, and I tried to check in this afternoon or this evening. Again, I would say between maybe 7 and 8 o'clock, and it was the guy with the glasses that, you know, the guy's looking at you. I don't know what the page is, but it's the guy with the glasses.
Yeah, that's the main page of the Old Tube Radio Network. That is Smilin' Jack, one of our net controllers. Had a lot of Old Tube radios. He even had a BC610, which is about the size of a washing machine, and does many, many AM frequencies. You did check in on the oldtuberadio.net page last week, because it says SWL93, and there's a photo of you. So you managed to do that one okay, over.
But there's not one tonight?
There is not one tonight. I will have to double-check the main Facebook page, which requires me to kind of go in and look at some other areas that sometimes are not easily found, but I will double-check on that to see how that worked. But you did successfully check in on the main page last week, over.
Okay, I got to figure out how I did that, because if it successfully went through last week and this week it didn't go through, then I must have went to maybe the wrong page, or maybe I sent it, because on the top of the deal it says send a message, and that's the way I sent it.
All right, you said the right word, message. I'm checking the messages, and indeed you are the top one. SWL93 checking in. 49 minutes ago, we've got you, over.
Okay, well, you'll have to look for me there every once in a while, because I'm going to try to check into the internet a lot more and go through that way. So keep an eye out for that, guy.
I will do that. There are many, well, I wouldn't say there are many, but there are others that do the same situation the same way. And usually at the end of the net, if I've been remiss in checking as things go along, because sometimes I get busy, I will go back and update my list and check in that way. So it is noted, and you are checked in.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I did it right, and that I can do it the same way again if everything else fails.
When all else fails, what do they say? When all else fails, amateur radio. Maybe the Old Tube Radio Network as well. No, you did it correctly. If you do the same thing, I will definitely see you.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to be.
All right, good. No problem. That's easy for me to check. And if I don't hear you live and direct, we will check that page. Thanks, Louis, for checking in. And I guess I should quickly ask you, if you told me, I forgot already, what antenna are you using, over?
I'm using a Predator. I believe it's a 500 or 1,000 or something. It's a 4-element ground plane. Let's see. I'm approximately probably 23, 25 feet to the tip of the antenna, and I'm running LMR 400 for my coax, and an SDE Land Command from 1977 with a D104.
That is a classic radio station that will play not only on the Old Tube Radio Network, but anywhere else on your 11-meter radio band. Thanks, Louis.
No problem there, Ed. Thank you much.
Direct-to-net roll call. Radio's coming up. Hang out with us here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll go extra time tonight to make sure we get everybody that wants to get checked in, but we appreciate stations letting us know about their antennas. SWL 98. SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110.
Forgot 103.
SWL 103. All right, out in the mobile tonight. Yeah, I noticed your signal is a little bit lower than it has been in past. I think last week you were S9, you're about an S7 right now, but I do hear you on the mobile, over.
Yeah, I don't know. My S6R is really lately.
Yeah, that could depend on the grounding. If you're a mag mount and you move it around, that could depend on that. It depends where you're parked. If you got a nice rounded bumper mount, typically that'll keep your SWRs where they should be with no loading coils. But I do hear you, and you are checked in.
Okay.
All right, thank you for checking in. That's SWL 103. Jeff, geez, easy, 103. Sounding good here in the old Tube Radio Network. Looking for, and I'll check to see if he checked in early, because it's very late for this guy. SWL 111. That is Robert out in Reedley I will scan my devices, and he's probably checked in at some point. How about SWL 113? SWL 114.
114 checking in.
SWL 114. Hello, Wayne. What antenna are you running? I imagine you probably had that same one up for a while. It always checks in well here.
It's a quarter-wave Skylab. The old new remake of the old quarter-wave Starduster.
What do they call it? An M400, I think, was the original Starduster. So that one has the center element vertical radiator going up, and then you have three that hang down, not at 90 degrees, but more like 140 or 150 degrees, right?
That is correct. Pretty much based off the old quarter-wave Starduster.
And then you have to sneak your coax up through the mounting mast, and that's the only hard thing with that, is mounting that thing. You got to get the coax up through the pole, then mount it in there, and then set it on the pole. That's exactly what I am running. It is the knockoff. It's not the original. I had an original M4000, but it's got some damage. It's very hard to straighten out. And I noticed on the older style, they changed the angle slightly. I think that's part of the issue with the antenna. I mean, how it works. They changed the angle. Is it the angle of the angle? They changed the angle of the radiating elements of the radials, and I can't remember if it's less or more, but that's the only difference basically that I can see. The other issue is some of the plastic hardware doesn't hang out. The little clips, the standoffs sometimes don't like the Fresno heat. That works well. It's a nice, quiet antenna, and I always have good SWRs with it as well. Thanks.
Yeah, 10-4, yes it is. And then for my distance talking, I have a Lightning 6 full element quad up too.
For distance talking, that'll do it. You get the horizontal, vertical elements. You get directors, reflectors, and a honking-driven element of focusing your signal where you want to go. And it's a nice thing to have. But the ground plane is good for checking in on Saturday nights. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you.
SWL 128. John Lee in Fairfax, Virginia. If I haven't talked too long, I know you're in there. Looks like it's showing up at Centerville tonight to late check-in with a house full of family. That happens. That happens here at Christmas time. Merry Christmas to all. Thank you, John. We got you checked in if you're listening, or if you're listening later on the archives. Sounding good. How about SWL 131? SWL 133.
Good evening, Dennis. Our antenna here is a Delta Loop, 69 feet total in wire here with a 4-to-1 balun, and we're up, the apex is up about 33 feet, over.
Very interesting. I've been eyeballing my tree situation here for a Delta Loop. There used to be a station I talked to in 40 meters long ago, but whenever I would catch the guy, he had a new Delta Loop up, and he would switch with this Delta Loop and that Delta Loop. A Delta Loop, think of a triangle if you're not familiar with a triangle, but that's your delta and your loop. The quad is the square, and you feed one of your corners or the center. The Delta Loop is a triangle, and you feed, and it's been a long time since I've looked at one, I think you feed the center or you can feed a corner, and depending on where you feed is going to be your horizontal or vertical polarization. So I'm assuming you will tell me about how you're feeding that.
I'm sorry, Dennis, got a little feedback on the sideband here. We're feeding that at the bottom corner. You can feed these about a quarter wavelength from the top. Gives you a little better dBi on it. But this one works just fine. I can talk all over the world with it, over.
Okay, yeah, probably easier to feed it at the bottom so you don't have your coax or line running. Oh, speaking of feeding, how are you feeding it with, well, you're on 4-to-1 Ballon. So what is your transmission line going up and back?
We've got about 40 foot of coax going right up to the Ballon there. But this bottom corner side works real good there. Actually, I'm talking to you. You're about almost exactly pointing to you off of the unfed side, opposite the Ballon there. The broadband side here is pointing all the way to, say, eastern United States and Europe, over.
Okay, and then a couple more questions. Are you, either your radio has a tuner or you might be running an external tuner, but I'm assuming that you might need to occasionally tune that or tweak that a bit to get the radio happy?
Not really. On this band, I do run about, let's see, it's a 1.5 to 1 SWR. When I'm on the 20 meters, it's a 1 to 1 exactly, over.
Well, okay, it's 68 feet. I'm trying to think, the 20 meters times 3. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. So like your full wave on 20. I think that's typically what you do for a delta loop. You will make it, the length will be the full wave for your band, your top band, and then you can work up. You can work up from that. So if it starts at 20, it should work everything 17 and 12 and 10, 11 even. It probably works, like you said, it probably works well for others as well if you can tune it and get your impedance so it's not way out of line. There are 4-to-1. I think it's a typical, get you back down to 50 ohms. Very interesting. I didn't know that, and I wish I had a decent horizontal antenna. I could do an antenna like that. I bet probably has some horizontal and vertical characteristics going on more so than a straight vertical or a straight horizontal, where if I flip between the two, I might not see all that much difference in the polarity pattern. But interesting with the delta loop, and there is another instance where home brew can be fun to do and might fit in your configuration with your lot or the trees. And again, like I said, I was kind of looking around here. It's like, what could I do with the delta loop? Could I get a full, 80 meters or 40 meters? I know I could do 40. I'm not sure about 80. If I could get 250 feet out of the 3 pieces of wire. Very interesting. Thanks, Dave, for sharing that with us. And you always put in a good signal here. And now I'm curious. When I get something with a horizontal kink to it, I'm gonna check you out on both polarities.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
And Merry Christmas that way, Dave, out there in Northwest Fresno. Radios are coming up. It is already 9:25. You can tell I'm having too much fun with the antennas here. SWL 135. We got a check-in, proxy check-in for SWL 137, SWL 145. Neil, who probably was a busy guy tonight. I think he was checking in. He was at the top of my page here a while back. In Kakalaki, missed us last week. Weather cold, lots of rain the last 2 days, clear and chilly now. That's what we've got here, clear and chilly with those kind of misty, foggy, high clouds that make you turn on the windshield wipers. Good E-skip sessions earlier in the week from 10 p.m. to midnight. Well, I haven't got anybody reporting the E-skip here. I'll have to talk to the 38 sideband guys and see what's happening. And he says he's currently got the IMAX 2000, which is, Neil's also a ham radio operator, so that works well for those who want to do 10 and 17 and 12 and listen in everywhere else. Let's see if we've got SWL 195 checking in. Hello, up in Corscold, SWL 195.
He's out with the family.
Okay, it is that kind of thing. So I'm going to get him proxied in. Thanks for the update there. And he comes in late and I'm still on. Might get him checked in that way. I'm always curious to see what he's running as well to get over the hill. How about SWL 226? How about anybody else I might have missed that wants to chime in with a comment here before we go to the tube radios?
Very good, GR.
Proxy N135.
All right, well, Proxy N135, Mr. Green Arrow, and the break OTR. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Dennis, 650 up here around 195 area. An old Hobo Sam 5-inch airplane reroute to the full lake. About 35 foot here. Unit and yacht, Grand XL with some software.
Interesting. So you're up about 35 feet. What is your altitude, your standing on the ground altitude over there?
About 2,800 behind the mountain, big old rock.
Yeah, 2,800, but like I say, we're kind of behind the hill around the corner, and you can hear, if you're listening in, occasionally his signal will be fine, and then you'll get that flutter, that sort of I'm bouncing down the hill ground wave thing going on, which in theory might be helped with raising my antenna, or if he raises his antenna a little bit, but doing a good job considering in most cases we shouldn't be hearing each other at all.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all on the panel and everybody listening. Dennis, you have a good one, and I'll see you guys next Saturday.
All right, thanks, sir. 650 waving hand. Anybody else before we go to the tube radios here? Which I will do. I've got to change a few things on the stream. If you're at the video, keep it right there. Shouldn't change anything, and we will be right back with the Old Tube Radio Network, and then check in as many radios as we can get. I won't shut it right off at 10 o'clock, so if anybody's trying to get some radios in or wants to check in, we will make sure we get you all. Thanks for listening in and standing by. Interesting to see what people are doing with their antennas. Hopefully you've got some ideas. I know I did. So I'm thinking about doing some antenna work, changing things around. So that Delta Loop sounds interesting. Back in a moment, the Old Tube Radio Network. The Old Tube Radio Network is back for some radio check-ins.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
Hi, everybody. The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Back in the air chair here. Got the Christmas bow affixed to the the flannel shirt because it's, what is it in here? It's up to 67 now, so that's not too bad. And we are listening for your radio check-ins.
7.
And we have a few. 7. Hello, Ed. Step up into the air chair. We will take you. And who was the other station?
45.
45. Paul, you will be radio number 2. We'll be right with you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I know you had some radios warming up, but I just had to. I got a request or an inquiry from a station about what kind of antennas are people using. That's Mr. Rouge, who is an antenna expert here in town. And I thought, well, we'll find out. It could be interesting for everybody. So appreciate all our tube radio operators standing by. Was there another station wanting to check a radio in? All right, we'll go with 45. We'll be right with you. And SWL7 stepping up to his microphonium at, what time is it? 9:33 here at Net Control. And over to you, Mr. Ed.
Well, in that case, this is the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
Okay, you fooled me. It sounded like a Browning audio, but I didn't get the ping when you keyed up last time, and I thought, well, maybe he changed something, or I wasn't listening. More often, it's just me not listening, but it sounds good. Through your antenna of choice, back to you for another check-in. Over.
Oh, there you go, just in case you wanted this cool, although I guess the headphones, that probably didn't feel too good. Actually, right now, I'm on an IMAX 2000, and I have tested the IMAX 2000 with the Ciro 2016 side-by-side, same height, same coax to check it out, and the Ciro is quieter by about an S unit, and it also has a better signal by an S unit, so basically overall you get 2 S units out of it.
And you say that is at a similar altitude for the test?
Exactly the same height. They're both on push-up poles at the very same height, same coax, so the only difference is the antennas.
Indeed. The other thing I didn't mention as we were talking about antennas, the Ciro is a metallic metal antenna, I believe, no fiberglass. The IMAX 2000 is all fiberglass. So if you're thinking about doing antennas and you have an issue where you've got some power lines that are close, or the possibility once you mount it, if it came down, it could contact with power line issues, then you might want to think about going fiberglass. If you're more in the clear, I hear a lot of people saying they like the metal better than the fiberglass. It might be quieter. There may be some pluses that way, but some things to think about. The Browning is now a Browning. Well, it's always been a Browning, but you made sure by flipping the switch.
Oh, there you go. Back into the no ping mode, which is kind of cool anyway. But yeah, and also with the Golden Eagle microphone. So the Golden Eagle with the Golden Eagle. Double Eagle.
Like we are showing, thanks to SWL 135, the Golden Eagle microphone with the Browning Golden Eagle set from 1972 to 1976. And thanks to our tube radio operators right here at the very tail end of 2018. Sounding good, Ed. Thanks for standing by for the radios tonight, and it's doing a good job.
Oh, no problem. And I'll be back with a couple more.
All right. We will be here as well to check them out. I just step on up to the microphone. 45. We'll get you here in a second. I see Stan said he forgot to mention he has a new old stock NOS high gain duo beam 10 stacked 5s. I didn't know that was the official name. I remember the stacked 3s. That was actually a very popular antenna back at least late 60s, early 70s, stacked 3. There were a few stations that had the stacked 5. There was somebody in Fresno that had one. It was over on Ashland and West for a while. It's one of those things that looks big when you drive by and you get underneath it. It's like, that is big. Stacked 5s. What I remember about the stacked 5s, talking to people with that, when they turned the antenna away from you, they were pretty much gone. If you've got some interference or some bleed over, that's the kind of antenna you want. But like I think Ron was saying with the PDL2s and stacking something like that, and the stack 5s, I'm sure have a longer boom length than the PDL2 does. you definitely need to have a very secure device. Probably best a small tower, or a Roan 25. But I've seen them on, 30-foot push-ups before. Just have to be careful. So, Stan, I may... I may bring the Buick. Yeah, I'll bring the Buick. We'll just tie them on the top. I'd love to have some stacked 5s. SWL45, hello, Paul. Can you hear net control? Over.
Yeah, Dennis. I'd like to take in my general radio telephone, Super MC12.
All right. Well, damn the type acceptance from the FCC, right? We're gonna get that general radio telephone in there, the Super MC12, the last in the line, and I believe the last couple of weeks, Paul has been gracing our radio receiver with the last of the general radio telephones in the Super Series, MC8, MC9, MC11A, and now he's got the Super MC12. I'll pop up a picture, which I believe is actually from his collection. Not sure if it's the radio that he's talking on, but it looks just like it should. Over to you.
Yeah, the picture is of Jim that I got from Jim, SWL number 1, great friend of mine, and I know you knew him well too. Anyway, that's his radio up there. You get the picture of. It kind of decided to quit. It blew a transformer, and I replaced it with this radio I got from Bob Millam. He's down in San Diego. He had a giant collection of radios. Very nice man, and had a lot of generals and brownies and everything. I used to get parts from him. He passed away, and lucky enough, I got this one from him, or his wife sold it to me. So I want to wish her a Merry Christmas also. And actually, I got this radio here, and it's just as pretty as that one of Jim's. And anyway, back to you.
It is a pretty radio. It's what we call the utility style radio. It doesn't have the wood case or anything, but if you're a radio operator or you're into what I'll say test gear, this is a radio for you with the rack handles, even though in theory it didn't come with rack mounts. It would have to be, the 19-inch or 18 and a quarter inches to fit in the rack. I'm sure you could manufacture something like that, but it reminds me of a lot of the solid rack gear we had at the TV station. Get everything you'd want, 23 channels, the S-meter. Much like the Super MC11A, General Radio Telephone was sold to, as you mentioned, Skyhawk Antenna Company in 1972, and they upgraded the MC12 with a much larger and powerful final audio tube. The MC12 was not able to be type accepted by the FCC and was the last general radio telephone CB manufactured. And I'm glad you have one to share with us. Over.
Most definitely. About the antennas, are real interesting. I'm glad you brought that up tonight. My 4 is a Avanti 4, and it's a little bit better than the Makos. Avanti quit making them. The Mako took them over with a little bit cheaper antennas. They work, but not as well. So, 29 set of stacked 4s. The wind kind of liked it better than it liked me. Took care of it off my roof one day. So that was in the 70s, and I went and got this Avanti. And believe it or not, I'm still using it. I've replaced a lot of parts on it, but it's been in my, up here in the mountains ever since. Liked the antenna real good. Good for 10 meters also. So, anyway, the antenna was real good. Thanks for bringing it out.
All right, on the Avanti, is it the Astro Plane or the Astro Beam?
I come back on that?
On the Avanti antenna, they had an Astro Plane and they had one called an Astro Beam. Was it one of those?
I don't know about that, Avanti. I know they had a 6, which is same as my 4, but they had just 6 elements on the thing. I have to get my book out and check to see if it had that. I really didn't look anymore after I found this one. And I like this because it works so good on 10 meters also. Don't have to change a thing on the thing. The SWR is good. And I'm up on the mountain way up here at 3,000, but I'm down in a hole, which I'm glad I am, because if I got up in the mountain, I wouldn't be able to hear anything but just a lot of garbage everywhere. So actually, I'm lucky on that. And I can get you guys, that's the main thing. Back to you.
All right, we're lucky that you do as well as you do, because it's always, you have a great radio collection, probably the foremost general radio telephone collection here on the West Coast. And thanks to the Bob Milam and the collection, occasionally I will see some of his radios, and I can't remember, I think it's his wife, her name, putting them up in great condition and a great opportunity for people to keep his great collection on the air, which is what you've done. Yeah, you said about blowing that's the one thing you don't want to do is blow a transformer in your radio. That's usually the hardest thing to find. And let's see, Stan is saying he's got stacked 5. So those, like I said, those who are brave and have a way to mount an antenna, you might want to think about putting up some stacked 5s. Otherwise, the good old ground plane will do. Radio number 2 at 9:43. We've got Paul on the General Radio Telephone Super MC12. It's got great audio. Hope you can listen to it on the archive replay. Thanks for bringing it by.
You bet I listen to it. I do every week. Appreciate you getting that thing up. It's really a great improvement on everything. You got a beautiful station running down there. Everything is perfect. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
And thanks for bringing it by. Let's see, I didn't update my video screen, and I have missed a couple of our stations. Tim up there in the Pacific Northwest, waving a hand and saying hello to all the stations. Merry Christmas to you, Tim. Also, Big Ben, who is, what time is it? 5:43 in the a.m., where Big Ben is. Thanks for tuning in. From wishing a Merry Christmas from Limey Land, where indeed it's not the old Tube Radio Network, but the old Valve Radio Network. We are standing by for Radio 3.
Break OTR. And then 47.
Number 7.
All right, we've got 56 is Radio 3, 47 is Radio 4, and 7 is Radio 5. So we've got Ed and Mike, and should I say 00? Mr. Phil. So I write 5600, and I say hello, over.
Well, hello, Dennis. I'd like to check in my Lafayette Comstat 25 Bravo.
And it seems to be K9 approved. That's how good the audio is. But in the background enough that not interfering with you at all. We'll swap our radio featured on the main page to the Lafayette Comstat 25 Bravo. Another great picture from SWL 135. And if I can get it in frame, we will see that Lafayette upgraded their device to get that modern blacked out face look. I believe it was a Panasonic chassis, but if you want a loud radio and one that everybody likes, this would be one for you. Over to you for a transmission.
Well, I'm using an amplified D104 microphonium, and I have the range boost on, but now I have the range boost off. I can see the meter drops down quite a little bit on the modulation, whereas when I put it back on the boosting factor, it picks right up again. Over.
It does. Good quality audio. You have it adjusted perfectly. I never figured out if the range boost circuitry on these things just took your full audio and attenuated it, put in some type of resistive circuit and said, okay, we'll give you less, or if it actually goes into some type of call it compressor, clipper, speech processor where it would actually have an amplifier built in. I guess you could look at a circuit and easily tell that, but as Phil knows, when you have an amplified microphone, then you have to sort of play the game between, okay, if the range boost is on, the microphone is here, and oftentimes one becomes overmodulated with the extra amplification, but you're doing it quite nicely. What can we say about the Lafayette Comstat 25B, except it was a Panasonic issue from Lafayette, and we'll go to you for another transmission on Radio 3.
Well, thank you, Dennis. This one is new enough, I should use that word kind of advisedly, new enough, I think, that it does not have any paper capacitors. So it's been a very dependable radio. Just plug it in, let it warm up a little bit, and off we go. Over.
And off we go, especially if it's a Saturday night here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Phil has been checking in radios for, well into 30 years, I'm pretty sure. And we always appreciate when he comes by with his collection, like the Lafayette Comstat 25B. Thanks for bringing it by. That takes us to radio number 4, who I said would be and is Mike, SWL. I remember the days when I would be putting my ear to the speaker and Mike would be out dipping his toe into the swimming pool trying to make a good ground plane for his walkie-talkie. And we would check in. But now I can sit back in the air chair with my headphoniums and say, go ahead, sir, with your check-in.
Yeah. Well, that kind of makes me self-conscious. I feel the need to just ask if this thing's working right now and that you can hear me.
I can hear you, over.
Okay. Let me tell you, I definitely remember those days, especially when I had the like a mag mount on top of the dual pack, the heater and air conditioner, and then running that down. And Jesus, I think I remember like being outside this time of year, wearing a bathrobe and everything else, just trying to keep warm, like normal street clothes, with a really thick bathrobe on top, just trying to stay warm, and at least 1 or 2 Coleman lanterns, just to put off heat. But this thing that I'm speaking on right now is putting off its own heat. This is for your listening pleasure, it's a 123B, as in Bah Humbug, Robin, of course. And I did take the Weber meat thermometer and just kind of put it on top of this guy. And I can't remember. I know I've done this one other time, but I can't remember what the initial reading was. But I can tell you right now that with this meat thermometer on top of my radio, it's reading 118 degrees, which, it's definitely warming up the lounge here.
Get a foot switch here. Well, 118 degrees might not be enough to cook a steak. At least, what is it called? All tartare. Maybe you could do it that way. But 118 degrees is nice when it is 40-something degrees outside. And if you were listening, you can tell Mike is a true dedicated shortwave listener. When you run about the QTH, putting yourself in harm's way to make a check-in. We appreciate that. But we want everybody to stay safe and to be comfortable as they check in. If you're watching the video, there's the Robin T123 Bravo. We'll talk a little bit about the radio. It is working fine. I think that also has, they got rid of the Magic Eye, but instead you've got another range command or range boost, similar to what the Lafayette was doing. We'll talk about where that is. But glad it is working, over.
Oh, good. Well, it's always fun to check it in. Yeah, this one does not have the Magic Eye tube on it. I did check in during roll call on that particular radio. This one doesn't. It just has the a little modulation lamp. What color is this thing? Hello. Is that red? Hello. Yeah, we're going to say it's red. Unless you want to correct me right now.
I am checking with my thing. That would be your center light. In the 3-stack, there's a 2-stack on the other side. The top one would be red, the bottom one is green, and in your 3-stack, the center one is red.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I gotta say, I felt... Wait a minute. Why is this other thing not lighting up? Well, that's the PA. Oh, really? Okay. All right, so I got to tell you, I'm learning something new about this radio. I never really paid attention to it. Okay, I'll tell you, the Robin T123 with the Magic Eye, Magic Eye tubes just always command your attention. you're going to pay attention to those. This particular radio does not have a match guide to really tell you what you're doing as far as output. This one does have just a little lamp, like you talked about. It's red, and it's not doing much of anything right now. And my range expand is on, and maybe we can do a before and after. And I'm tired right now, so I'm not yelling into the radio. But even that having been said, this lamp is not doing much of anything. So on top of this, you said it was like a 3-stack. You were right. I guess the feature that both of my radios have, both Robins, I think is it PA on both? Okay. So this one does have a button you can press on the right side of the radio that says external speaker, EXTSP. So you can tag that, and if you have, some sort of a speaker mounted on your car or maybe on the side of your house, if you want to tell your kids to get out of the pool or tell some car to get out of your way, you just tag that button and you can speak to them. When you tag that external speaker button, the top lamp in the middle of the radio actually lights up. Very dimly, I might add. But I guess, what would be the difference between an external speaker and a PA? Because that's the bottom lamp. On the very top, you got the external speaker. In the middle, you got the modulation lamp, and down below, it's a white lamp. It says PA. So you've got all sorts of choices here, and I'm shocked because I've never really pondered the two there. I think on the regular Robin 123, I just assumed it was like a PA, but I don't know. That's pretty cool. I like it.
37.
And hello, Chris, 37. You'll be we're with Radio 4 right now. You'll be Radio 6 coming up, so don't go away. And let's see, Mike, yeah, you got the light. The PA light's on the bottom. So if you're in the PA mode, that light would be lit. I wouldn't hear you very well at all, but you would be hearing yourself quite nicely if indeed you had an external speaker plugged into the external speaker area plug, wherever that might be. I can't tell from the picture if on the front where it says external speaker, if that's a jack or a knob or what that is. And then there's a PA. So I'm wondering if it knows when you go to the PA mode that it should be going out of the speaker jack. But anyway, that's something to test for your feedback pleasure. Let's try so I can get to the other stations here. Let's try what we're going to do. Range boost. And I will switch to the Robert Orban loudness meter. Right now, you are probably 60% modulated. So if the range boost is on, we're obviously going to see the loudness meter. Oops, okay, we keep keyed up here. We're obviously going to see the loudness meter go down. Basically, what we need to see is it probably go up a little bit more. But take a transmission for about 5 seconds or so before you switch in or out, whatever you're doing. We'll get there's a number that'll be on the video screen. We're going to look at that number on the LKFS meter, and then when you kick in or out, whatever you're doing, we'll see if it goes up and down and by how much. But in theory, for a station, the way the loudness meter is set up, you should be over or less than a minus 20, and I think you're at minus 22 right now. I know this is a bunch of numbers, but we'll give it a shot here. Back to you.
Okay, well, I'm definitely, I'm like really interested in seeing that, although I can't right now. So the range expand is on right now, and I have a feeling this is going to be miserable, but we're going to turn off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and off. The range expand is now off. The modulation lamp is really quite pathetic. Actually not doing much of anything, but we'll turn it back on. And hopefully that's a little bit louder now. We're back on now.
Well, it's more than a little bit louder. You're about a minus 16, which is not bad. If you want to be in like above minus 20 and ultimately be around minus 14, and when you turn it off, you were down at minus 30, which is about 20% modulation at best. So range boost on with that particular microphone, and you do have to be in it a little bit, and I don't think you'll have any problems being heard worldwide, whether it's on 27085 or the Old Tube Radio Network. So it's working, and it went in and out perfectly without any clicking or clacking or crunching.
No, I know that was an issue. Real quick, and I know we got to move on here, but what piece of test equipment were you just using?
It is the Robert Orban loudness meter, where they've compiled mathematically certain aspects of VU meters, peak VU meters, CBS loudness meters, ITU, BS.770, momentary this and that. It's a whole 3-unit course in audio processing that I probably flunked out on and that I can't go into now, but Orban has sort of mixed it in so when you feed some audio, you can kind of compare things between VUs and peaks. And I'm looking at the loudness meter LKFS item that I typically have set up if you can make it at minus 14 or something like that, that you are fairly well loud and modulated and all that good stuff. So anywhere between minus 20 and 14 is a good range to kick in. And when you speak up in the microphone, yours gets there. When you have the range boost off, it's not even close. Anyway, back to you. Take another transmission on Radio 4, the Robin T123B from Robin, their big radio from 1972 to 1976.
Okay. Well, number one, thanks for letting me check it in. Number two, I'm going to just ask your permission to direct this next comment to 37 that I think is kind of waiting. I know he's a couple folks ahead of me. Chris, I'm assuming you're listening right now?
Yes.
All right, Chris. Well, I don't know if you remember or not, but I think a number of years ago, you and I had a little wager. I lost, and I think you won some... Oh, good God. Something from the hostess company. Do you remember that at all?
Yes, they were ho-hos.
Okay, so here's the deal. During the roll call, you were mentioning something about a little fun stay that you're going to be having in some sort of a local, I'm not going to call it a hotel because you're not going on vacation, but so ho-hos, I'm going to remember that. When you get out, I promise that Santa would be delighted if you'd like them to deliver some more ho-hos. I can't say that they're the best for your health, but please do know that once you're back in the air chair, that should you so desire, some ho-hos will be delivered, or you could come and get them or whatever. But anyways, okay. Take care. Best wishes, Chris. That's pretty serious there, so I'm sure our thoughts and prayers are with you. And on that, I'm going to send it back to you, OTR. As always, thank you, and Merry Christmas to all. Try and stay out of trouble. 73.
Thank you, Mike. It's well appreciated. I will try to remember, and those were ho-hos or ding-dongs. Thank you very much.
That's a whole nother evening. What's the difference between a ho-ho and a ding-dong? Probably not too much. Probably just the shape, I think. Thank you, Mike. SWL 47, Radio 4, the Old Tube Radio Network. We're going to extend the timeout so we can get all the radios checked in tonight. I know a lot of people are having gathering and guests, so maybe that will work out well. If you send the Christmas carolers off, you can sneak back into the radio room, and we might still be around. SWL... Who's Radio 5? SWL number 7, according to my promise list here, over.
And hello, OTR and all the SWLs. This time, the Johnson Messenger 223.
And this time, a good choice, especially since it glows in the dark and it's an old tube radio, and this is the Old Tube Radio Network. So we'll bring up the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 photo to mix with your audio of said radio.
Oh, there you go. And when I got this radio, I did not have a microphone with it, so I experimented with a couple and found out you have to have a particular type of microphone, one that does electronic switching. Otherwise, it won't work, and the radio won't receive without one. But anyway, this is the amplified D104 Silver Eagle.
The lesson in relay switching and electronic switching. Something that took me a while to learn, too. Whereas microphone needs to be whatever circuit, the way the microphone runs to get audio out of your speaker. For electronic switching, relay switching, of course, no microphone necessary, and here you hear the big clunking relays. Not a clunky radio for sure. A nice-looking Messenger 223 from E.F. Johnson, very popular in the era of radios. A lot of the radios have been checking in so far. The Comsat 25B, the Robin T123B, and this one coming in a little bit earlier, but hanging out through 1972. When they all went solid state. Over to you for another transmission basking in the, the blue LED glow.
Oh, there you go, the blue LEDs and the 15 cents glued onto the front of the radio, right on the knobs. 3 nickels, Buffalo type, so at least I know it's worth 15 cents. And with that, we'll let you get there to the next radio, and we'll be back with another one real quick.
All right, good deal. And 15 cents face value, Ed, as he's mentioned before, has the 3 Buffalo nickels. I would imagine if you took them out, there would be just a value because of their content that would be more than 15 cents. And even though they might not be in great collector condition, I'm sure you could get more than 5 cents a piece at the local coin dealer. But keep them on the radio. That's where they should be. If that's how it came, that's the customized issue, and it's probably one of a kind, unless these were mass-produced somewhere that we don't know about. Radio number 6 standing by, SWL 37, Christopher stepping up to his microphonium to say hello, OTR.
Hello, OTR.
And then telling us, indeed, when the jingle singers are banging on the glass. After Chris, they said we missed the top of the hour ID, but we'll put them on after you tell us about your radio. Over.
Okay, well, I'm talking on my Courier Royale 23-channel tuber. It glows in the dark. This is the one with all the knobs and the blinking lights and the hidden knob behind them and stuff and whatnot. And we're running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
Always a good radio. I was looking at all the lights. You know, the Robin actually has more panel lights. Oops, it doesn't quite fit in our frame, does it? There we go. But this still has, you've got one on either side of the meter, which I can't tell what they do, and then one on the other side. So the one above the switch on the right-hand side is your mod meter. That one should be blinking when you talk. Over.
Yeah, it's blinking red. And the one next to the S meter, that one stays red when I key up. And it goes off when I let go. And then the one in the middle, just to the right of the channel selector, that's an amber. As I release, it comes on.
Nice, a light show and perfect for your pre-Christmas holiday talking pleasure. Who needs the Christmas tree, right? When you've got an old tube radio that, with as you can see if you're looking at the video here, this has the convection cooling vented on the top of the radio. Some radios don't have that, so the tubes will throw out light, maybe on the ceiling or a close nearby wall, and you've got the panel lights, the meter lights, and the indicator lights that will throw some other festive colors your way. So it's always nice to drive and be an operator of these tube radios. That's why I think we've been on for so long, because it's fun to do. The Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter, a plus for that radio, and it was the top of the line Courier, so you can't go wrong. Back to you for another transmission.
Very good, yeah. It is kind of decorated there for Christmas, but the next one's going to have the red and green, so we'll see what happens to that one.
Well, we will be here. Like I said, we're going to extend the radio check-in so we can get everybody who wants to check in checked in. 11 tubes, a service manual available at oldtuberadio.com and also available on your Universal Media Net web. The Jingle Singers here giving us the 10 o'clock ID.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. Your favorite spot on the dial by far.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, looking for radio number 7. And Tim Chon commented about the bow on my shirt. I actually got it to stick to the flannel here. And then we have the ultraviolet glow light. Let's see if it makes a difference. I put it on this side, so if I turn the ultraviolet light off, does that change anything? If I hit the switch, doesn't light it up too much. I thought it would really make the bow pop out, but it's festive enough regardless of the special lighting. OTR listening.
Number 7.
45.
All right, let's take them in order. The Old Tube Radio Network. We've got SWL7, Ed, step up in the air chair. You'll be Radio 7. We've got SWL45, Paul, for Radio 8. I know there are some other stations. Please take a transmission now. We'll get you on the list.
Yeah, 37.
All right, we've got Radio 9 will be Dennis, SWL77, and Radio 10 will be 37, Chris. So the way I've got it, next up in line in the air chair is Ed, followed by Paul, followed by Dennis, followed by Chris. And that'll take us up into double-digit radios and keep us busy. I'll try to keep it moving here, but appreciate everybody who stood by tonight so we could talk antennas. Who doesn't talk antennas on their two-way radios? Probably one of the top 5 things that people talk about when they key up the microphonium. Hello, Ed.
And hello, OTR and all the SWLs. This time, the Tram TR27 Echo, big green radio with a big S meter, 5x7 speaker, 3, 4, 5, 6 knobs. Wait, 5 knobs. I can't even count right. They got a little modulation light that lights up on the peaks of the voice, and that's about it.
Interesting. I'm going to pop up a picture of those who are shortwave listeners and are familiar with, I'll call it the Hallicrafter, the SX99s and 100s, would certainly like this radio because of the S meter that actually reminds me of when I actually sat in front of I think it was an SX101 that had the huge S meter that went to 40 over or 60 over. Also, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had to take that apart and change tubes or fuss with it at all?
Yeah, just a little bit, and also had to change one of the crystals because it was so far off. It's still a little bit off, but this one's a lot closer now than what it was.
Sounds good on my 6 kilohertz wide receiver. Doesn't sound like you're off frequency at all. Speaking of crystals, if you look, I'll point it out here on the video, on the front panel it has, and I'm assuming that's factory issue, doesn't look like it was, sometimes they do an ex-post factory crystal, but it says XTAL receive, right? So you have, okay, it's got the tunable receive, so it's not crystal control, but they give you an external crystal socket so you could plug in a channel of your choice. Now, why would they do that? Well, back in the day when you had to crank, you're on 23, and it's like, now I got to go to channel 1. You crank back down, and crank back up. You could, I don't know where the switch is to initiate that, but you could put your favorite. Say you had a home channel at channel 7. Well, you could leave your transmitter on channel 7 because, of course, you had to be crystal controlled, but then you could put that receive crystal in the socket, and then instead of cranking the knob, the VFO, somewhere there's a switch, and you would just flip right over to it, right?
Exactly. In fact, the VFO, the large one in the middle, is the VFO. The one down on the bottom to the right is the channel selector, and that little switch just to the left of that is the little switch for your menu for the VFO to the external crystal. In fact, underneath the squelch knob, you'll see a crystal actually laying there underneath, right there on the radio, because that was the bad one that I had to replace.
Oh, I do see. I've never noticed that. All this time I put this picture up. One of the, I can't remember, 247, whatever the style is. It can't be large. Some of us who had old novice rigs with the honking big crystals, when you have to put 23 of them in your radio, they put them down to that case size. I remember my first DX60B with Rockbound, the novice frequencies, 7117 and 7125 are some of the popular frequencies. You have to put the crystals in there. This radio came out in 1963. It was their top of the line and the last of their TR27 series. It still sounds great in 2018. Radio 7, SWL7 at the Microphonium. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by. Over.
Oh, yes, and no problem. And this also has the Electro Voice 638 microphone attached. Good old classic microphone for a classic radio. With that, we'll get the heck out of here and let you get on to the next radio.
The popular microphone for you Collins Collectors guys. By the way, I just joined the Collins Collectors Club because I may be getting into the Collins mode of operation with the R390 receivers and some transmitters and things like that. So I figured it'd be a good idea to get in with the Art Collins group, and we'll see what happens. So maybe way future episodes of the Old Tube Radio Network might have some interesting radios checking in here from this end. Thanks. Over to Radio 8, which is Mr. Falcon up there, North Fork, SWL 45. Can you hear Net Control, Paul? Over.
Okay, Dennis, I'll make it short so I won't take up more of your time. I'd like to see you get 10 radios in, which I know you will now. I'm taking in my ICO Centennial 23.
All right, let me scroll up or down to the E. EICO. And you know who taught me what the name for this was? Phil. Electronic Instruments Company, I believe, is what the ICO stands for. And what is the model again? Over?
Centennial 23.
And look at that. We have a shot, and it says, courtesy of the collection of SWL 45. That's the gentleman we're talking to right now. So it's very possible, once I get the radio positioned here, that may be the radio that he's sitting in front of. Back to you.
That is the radio. This thing's got 10 tubes in it, 23 channel, and it comes stock, believe it or not, I believe it's stock, with a 22A crystal in the thing. This radio is really a classic radio. It has an all copper chassis on the thing. It's a stock handheld Turner microphone. It's an M, like an M plus 2U, but it's not amplified. It's all stock. And it's just a real clean radio. I have a suspicion it was made in Japan, manufactured by Panasonic. Perhaps, I don't know, but we will get into that another time when we got more time. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by. It's a good addition to the radios we've been getting. And I was about to say the same thing. It has that look. It has that Panasonic styling on the front end. If we could look in the inside, we would probably instantly know. It's 10 tubes. We could probably match them with one of the other transmitters like the Allied or some other ones that we know were Panasonic. I don't have a manufacturer's date, and I don't have a Sam's Photofax date. Sometimes that's also a giveaway. 10 tubes, all, let's see, 6 BQ5s. It's got a 12 BE6 and the receive converter. Output modulator 6 AQ5, which was pretty standard, and all 23 channels. I like the way it's tuned to channel 11. The ICO Sentinel 23 is our radio number 8, and it's got some good audio, Paul. Thanks for bringing it by.
Thank you.
Tab one of those, but it was the Pro.
Yeah, that was their earlier issue that I'm sure was made in the USA. Radio 8 is online, and Radio 9 stepping up into the air chair, SWL 77, who is back in the Radio Shack. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Dennis. I have no idea of the settings on this one at the moment. I was jumping around, grabbing cords, plugging stuff in, plugging mic cords in. I don't know if it's too loud, too quiet. It's doing 4 watts, swinging to about 7, so you'll have to tell me there. Go ahead.
Okay, it's having an issue that I used to have occasionally when I was in a different location and I was very close to the KYNO transmitters. And if I had some issues with my grounding being improper on my audio setup, I would become not only worldwide with my great audio, but I would also become a crystal radio for the very close AM station. And that apparently is what I'm hearing. Your audio is good. I'm thinking you may have a little bit too much, but I'm also hearing a broadcast radio station coming in at the same time that doesn't sound like it's in the background of your shack. It sounds like it's being introduced into the audio circuit somewhere. So we will work with that for our Radio 9, and if you would be so kind to give me the radio that you are using, over.
This is great, because I was sitting here checking the radio out, and I could hear a radio station coming out of the inside of the case of the radio. I'm trying to figure out what was going on there. Obviously, it's not grounded. I'm going to need to ground it. But no, this is the Cam 88 moved into a different position in the shed, and a different microphone and mixer there. So yeah, I'm getting a radio station running side by side with me. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, this time it was even louder. We've got a commercial. It must be an iHeart station, because they're talking about Alexa listening to iHeart. That time it was louder. So something's floating. The power, let's see, AC power. It may be something with the AC power and a ground loop. If you got audio things going on, that could be a possibility. There might be a way, if it's, what was the old trick? Although if it's a 3-prong cord on the radio, it doesn't work. But the old trick was to swap 180 degrees your power plug into the socket, if it would do that. But I have a feeling it won't. It's new enough that it won't do that. The other thing is and I'm an expert at this, the clip lead. The clip lead from the microphone shield to somewhere on the audio rack, over.
Yeah, okay, well, I won't drag this out any further, but yeah, I was just scrambling to grab cords and get things plugged in to see if I could wave a hand with it. But yeah, it made for an interesting ending to the show. Anyway, 73s to everybody, and I appreciate it, Dennis.
Okay, the Cobra being awesome, not only giving us some radio stuff, but beaconing. We're not sure what Fresno radio stations coming in. It might be, I'm not sure if anybody's transmitting downtown anymore. I'm trying to think what you're close to there, where there might be a transmitter. If anybody's still coming off of the old the Del Webb or the Bank Building or something, but it's actually got a little bit louder. Good fidelity, and fortunately, we didn't have any music going on. It's all been advertisements, as much of broadcast radio is. That's why I like the old Tube Radio Network. No, it's advertisement free, but the audio is good enough that if it was playing music and we played enough of it, then Google YouTube would flag this portion of the network broadcast and take it offline until we paid, and I'm not kidding you, until we paid royalties to play that music. It has actually happened before, so I don't think we'll have that problem. Radio number 9, the Cam 88 Plus, and I used to, in fact, it's apropos because when I had my giant, and Chris remembers this, SWL 37, my giant 740 Christmas light display that used to beacon off my tower at the other location, when I didn't have those lights plugged in, they acted like an antenna for KYNO, and it would just come in through my radio audio. So I always had to, when I was transmitting, whether it was during the day or not, I had to make sure that the lights were plugged in, the Christmas lights were plugged in, and that got rid of my wacky broadcast interference coming through the radio. But I digress. Speaking of Chris, hello, 37, you're next.
And hello, Dennis, and yes, I do remember all those blinking lights all the way up to the top of the antenna. Used to go by there with the kids and everything just so they get a kick out and go inside and see that solid white cat that you used to have. And white carpet, too. I remember that quite well. But anyway, Dennis, on top of that, I would like to check in my GG, as in George, Powermate, the Jim Marine products, a 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. And this in here is the pretty blue, and but you know what? I got a red light when I'm talking and a green light when I'm receiving.
You are certainly in the Christmas mode of operation there. Let me put up a picture so we can kind of get a location of the light show. I'll include the fact that it's got your radio name on it, and There you go. So right now, I'm providing you with the green light, and you can do the rest for the red light. Over.
Absolutely. Red light there, no doubt about it. It definitely lights up red, and it does say that it's working. So I'm looking at the S meter, wiggle meter over there. It's what? Oh, let's see, which one is it? Strength, but power, let's see. Yeah, it's going from, I'm saying maybe, a 3, 2.5 to 3 almost, and hitting up to 4, I guess that's the green one's the power one, right? Yeah, RF power, yeah. But if you look at the other way, it's 7 swaying to 10 over, I don't know. But it's power one, it's a 4, 3.5 up to about a 4 almost. It's got some movement.
Movement is good. That usually means that there is audio introduced somewhere along the line, and hopefully that it's jumping out to the coax, which it is. For our Radio 10, the Gem Marine Products G-Power Mate, this one definitely is the Panasonic chassis that was popular with, let's see, what checked in earlier, the Robin T123B, and some of the other radios as well. Always good audio. And when the lights are blinking, you know it's working. Give us another transmission, and thanks for Radio 10.
Okay, and I forgot to tell you, I am running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
Set perfectly. Nice audio, not a lot of room noise, and it plays well, not only here in Fresno, but I guess I should see if anybody is still connected. It plays well in Utah, Washington, hello, Alberta, Canada, Tennessee. Quebec is listening in. Canadian stations are trying to keep warm with the 6L6 tonight.
All right, OTR.
And the break OTR. I know if we had an extended late night session today, we would get all the late night SWLs checking in. Hello, Joseph, over.
And 37.
We're checking in.
All right, SWL 24. I will go to the big board and we'll get you checked in. Hope you're having a good evening and Merry Christmas to you.
Break OTR.
All right, thanks for checking in. We've got, let me make sure I put it on my other list that I'm holding in my hand here for SWL 24. I wanted to, and we've got a breaking station. I hear SWL 56. So Phil, step up to the air chair microphonium. I wanted to make a comment. I always miss the great comments because I'm busy working the microphone here. I miss the video comments. And Dennis, I don't know if you're still listening. He's probably checking the wires, but someone mentioned doing the tongue test. You know, like you do with the 9-volt battery. No, do not do that. That would be my recommendation. And then the other thing is try and find a station that has the format that you want. The old Tube Radio Network, real radios glowing in the dark, having a really great time here on the pre-Christmas show as we check in radios, talk about antennas, and listen to your comments from shortwave listeners. Radio operators alike. What did I say? Radio 11 is standing by if I will stop talking. Hello, Phil.
And 37.
And 37 for Radio 12.
Good evening, Dennis. How are you doing, Chris? Good luck with your procedure. Hope things go well for you. This is a Sonar Frank Sinatra 23.
Frank Sinatra, who has done his share of Christmas tunes. I'm not sure if he's as famous as Bing Crosby is for White Christmas. I don't know if he has. Mr. Sinatra has a must-go-to Christmas song that he does. But the Sonar playing nicely here on, the 22nd of February. And you said it's an FS... But man, I just clicked on the Sonar thing. There's a whole ton from which to choose. An FS23?
Yes, it's the FS23.
All right, I'll pop one in because there is also the 3023, but that is a different animal. So we'll bring up the FS23 for those watching the video. And want to know why it sounds so good? Because it's a neat-looking radio as well. Back to you.
Well, being a sonar doesn't hurt much either. Very nice radio. It's hard for me to have favorites, but if I had to choose, this would be right up there with the rest of them. It does not have the feature, but it has a place on the front panel for a standby call and whatever normal mode is. So it's stenciled on the front of the plate, but the switch is gone.
I'm looking at that's the one that Everett used to call the Baby Yaesu. It has that kind of knob gray Yaesu. It also looks like it has, I want to say, a 6x9 speaker. It's got a nice speaker. I can see that there's 3 cutouts behind it. I'm sure it doesn't have 3 little speakers. Probably a big one. All 23 channels. Hence probably the FS23, and it looks like it's all crystal controlled. I'm looking for, it's got a fine tuning. This is actually very deluxe. 1965 was $300. So now that which was probably about $100 more than your average price point, but it does have the S-meter, 23 channels. I see a fine tuning, so it's got the plus and minus, like you mentioned, the other item. And am I correct in seeing that it has an RF gain control?
Yes, it does, and it also has a downside. The meter, the meter is, well, let's see. It's basically the face is black with white cutout for the numbers, and the needle is a very small red one. So the very dark small red against the field of black is all. It makes the meter almost useless. Over.
Okay, I didn't think of that. I think that's before the days of super illumination. What they could have done, make it like the dashboard of a 1949 Ford, where they put some type of illuminated phosphorescent and they give a black light, and then you turn that on, and then those numbers would pop out. And hopefully you would see them that way. All right. Well, you found the one fault in the $300 radio, but the fact that it's got the great transmit and receive perhaps is okay.
Well, indeed. Yeah. No, the meter is backlit, and you can see the numbers. They're kind of small, and my eyes are a little weak, but you can see the numbers just fine. It's just the very, very small red needle against the mostly field of black, but it is backlit illuminated. Over.
Okay, that's a nice thing. You think for $299 they gotta throw in that light somewhere sometime. I was looking elsewhere. Did I give a tube complement? Frequency synthesized citizen band. Okay, what that means is they were able. I didn't think they. I guess that's probably one of the first radios that was doing that, to get the 23 channels, where you use, was it like 14 crystals and do lots of multiplication between. My Regency has that, where you've got 3 crystals that make your frequency, so you have to be careful. So if you ever lose a whole block, like 5 and 9 and 14 and 19 goes out, there's one suspect crystal in that block of 3, or however they did it. But sure has very nice and clean audio on the sonar.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I'm using a non-amplified D104. The hour is running very late, and I'm sure there's some more. So, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
And thank you for staying up late and checking in the radios with us tonight. We talked about antennas and what people were running earlier on, and I thought that was very interesting and informative. The Old Tube Radio Network is saying, let's inform some people with the Jingle Singers, and then we will have radio number 12 with Chris, SWL 37.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
Thank you, Mr. Announcer, and over we go to Christopher. Hello, radio.
Hello, Dennis. All right. We're going to check in our Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver, a 23 channel tuber that glows in the dark. And this one here, Dennis, we are running this one here with a handheld, the original handheld stock microphone.
As we often say, these radios were built to work, in most cases, in the early radios with the little dynamic or crystal microphones that don't survive heated Radio Shacks for years and years, but a lot of these radios were manufactured to sound perfect right out of the box with the supplied microphone, and here is proof. Also doesn't help that I think this is also one of the Panasonic chassis, which my research is showing that they were plate modulated AMs. You can't go too wrong with that. If you want to hear the epitome of plate modulation, you could probably tune into 3780 or 3870 or 3880 on the 75-meter band right now and hear the guys running a kilowatt with the plate modulated AM. But a 5-watt plate modulated AM sounds good. Back to you.
Yeah, well, you know, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's showing wiggle on all three of my meters up here. The one on the radio, and two of them up above, and there's three up there, but that one up there stays flat right there at 1, so that's all right. But it's swinging 3 to 4. I don't have the modulation calibrated on this thing, but it's definitely moving.
It looks good. I popped up the digital S meter here, and you definitely have forward modulation, so that's something one would expect from a plate modulated AM radio. 23 channels with an S meter that was very popular. I think I've got that same red-green style SRF meter in my original Radio Shack Navajo. I spent hours, I spent days, I spent weeks, I spent months, I spent years staring at that little S meter as I was DXing my way through the early 1970s. Give us another transmission.
Yeah, I bet you. Well, after this year, I've got one more, and I'll let you guess what that is. But I got to let it warm up for a couple of minutes before I do anything. For it don't have standby, so I just wait till I unkey this and reach over there and flip it on. So, Dennis, I'm out and going to the other one.
All right, warming up the radio. Thanks for Radio 12, which was or is the Chris KRIS 23 Plus at 10:30. Jingle Singers are hanging out. We've got plenty of food over in Studio B. Bozo made up the traditional peanut butter Christmas cookies with the traditional peanut butter Christmas mess in the kitchen, but that's okay. We only do it once a year. Standing by, listening for Radio 13.
I guess SDRs don't qualify.
Well, maybe not here. When we do the 29085 extravaganza, I think we'll take anything that can generate AM.
You know, I've already got it programmed into the radio.
And it's not like we couldn't do it anytime soon, I suppose, but it's always fun, as OBP knows, it's always fun to throw out the hook when you know the band is open.
Just in case, I've tried it out already a couple of times, hoping that someone might come back, but not yet. So we'll wait.
See, that's the cool thing. If you're fishing, it's like having sonar radio. You can always tell. You're sitting up on the band. It's like, hey, there's a signal. What is that? It's actually someone talking.
Yeah, now I can see them.
Counting and amounting here at OTR, and the Jingle Singers have been hitting the punch bowl. They're ready for another ditty here.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And counting and amounting, getting ready to, as some of the big boat anchor stations used to say, tie the ribbons on. I never did like that, saying that, but I'll say that anyway. We're standing by, I think Chris was going to fire up another radio. We were hoping I would stay up long enough for Harvey to wake up. So we'll see what happens. OTR listening.
And we are ready.
Okay. We've got the, what do we say, is at least have to have about 2 minutes from a cold start on these things to make sure that the tubes are warmed up and happy and that you stay on frequency and yada yada and stuff like that. So over to you for Radio 13. I think by the process of elimination, I know which one it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. God, this thing, I'm looking at my meter over here, keying what, 5 swinging still? Yeah, 5 swinging about a 7. So it's doing well. But anyway, I'm going to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A, the 24-channel version of this here, and we're running this here with the handheld stock microphone. Over.
Sounds very loud and nice. You know, my main page with all the radios just disappeared, and I was going to be really, really cool and pop up the radio just as you started talking, and now I can't even find the radio. So we'll put up the Orban meter. I bet you're making at least a -14 with that audio.
Maybe. I don't know. I never been on the far end over that way.
Oops. Well, give me another transmission, and I will take a look at where everything is going here.
It's all going your way. That's the way I'm looking. I'm looking south. So, yes, it's got to be going your way.
Oh, man, I was way off. You're actually doing a -12, so that, and I'm not surprised, because it has that much audio from the 6LF, or ECL 800 tube, over.
Okay, well, yeah, it's just that antenna up there on the roof, the one that Mako V5000.
And it's vertical, still standing up?
That it is. It was when I looked at it yesterday, anyway.
No, I don't think you have to look at it again, because it's putting in the proper signal here to the old tube radio network. And if I can figure this out, we'll try and get a picture of it here just before we go away. Sometimes when everything blows up, it blows up good. There we go. The nice radio with the nice audio. Give us the transmission, and Radio 13 is sounding good. Thanks for bringing it by.
You betcha, Dennis. Thanks for being out there. And you know, I just keep me in the prayers and, you know, keep my number open.
Your number is good for a long, long time, and as I mentioned before, they have been doing what you need to get done for quite some time now. They've got it down to even better than a science, and I think once they get done with you, they're going to take a look and say, you know what? Get this guy out of here. Let him go home. Let him go do something fun. So we'll be looking for you. We'll be looking for you soon, and you know where to find us.
On 27.085.
Question.
This is thanks, Chris. This is the question frequency. Go ahead.
So when Chris comes back from the hospital, is he gonna go moo, or is he gonna go oink 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 oink?
That is a good question. He'll have to tell us when he checks in.
I'm going to say, move over, Hilaria. I'm here.
I think they even have synthetic ones as well. So he might have the robo voice.
Well, no, my doctor, he kind of said that he prefers putting in the cow valve. He says, but if I go the other way, they have to keep me on a Coumadin or something like that for the rest of my life. And he said he don't want to put me on that, so he prefers using the cow valve. He said they've been really good working for quite a long time.
Sound like you said you got a good doctor. Sounds the same way. I think Jim had the pig valve, and he was definitely had to stay on the Coumadin. All right, any other stations checking in so I can sign out of here? Thanks to all those who are staying up very late Saturday night, early morning, and who stayed up late to check in radios for us. So any other stations that would want to check in OTRs listening?
Contact.
This is the contact frequency as he pulls out the old tube radio list and looks at page 3 over.
Is this a 24-hour contact frequency? That's the question.
Well, we were having so much fun earlier during the roll call that we just kept going here.
All right, man. 70 checking in, please, Dennis.
And 70 is checking in. If I pull out the piece of paper, you will be checked in. Oh, and you get to participate in our little survey that we were doing with the shortwave listeners checking in, and that's why we're on so late tonight, because it was quite interesting. So we'll add you to the mix. Asking our stations what antenna they use for 11 meters, or just antennas in general, but curious what antenna you are beaconing on right now.
Right now, we're on the IMAX 2000 vertical.
Okay, works quite well. That is probably, out of all the ones that came through tonight, maybe number 2 or number 3 in antennas being used. There is a possibility that you can put a ground plane kit on that. Do you have that installed?
I researched it back when I got this thing a number of years ago. And a lot of mixed reviews. No, I do not have one, and that's that.
All right, same thing I did, and a lot of people talked about that, and because you are also multi-banded, it seems that going without the ground plane kit might be better things. It seems like it focused things more on the 11-meter side. A couple of stations that do run them recommend them and say it does help on the receive, whether it's a gain. I think it's more of probably lowers the noise floor a little bit, having the horizontal radials on there. So it helps out the receive, but it might also make the antenna a little bit more narrow-banded if you want to stretch out to 10 meters or 17 or 12, which that antenna will play on quite well. Thanks for checking in tonight. Hope you have a great holiday mode of operation. Merry Christmas, and we will look for you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Sounds good. Merry Christmas, Dennis.
And any other stations, Jingle Singers say they want to do their thing. So any other stations wanting to check in, do it now, because we're going to be out of here really soon.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
May have to check 3870 after the net.
I think so. Although I have to use the San Jose SDR. I just didn't realize how wimpy my Starduster is going in there, but I think 3870 would be. I bet it's roaring tonight too. Usually holidays they do quite well. People staying up and it's cold and they want to warm up the shack. All right, the Mr. Announcer is pointing to the ribbon microphonium, and I will open up that particular rotary pot, and they will say this.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
Boy, I am out of shape. I'm not used to talking this much. I remember we used to do this for 3 hours. But we had... Sometimes we'd have tag team net controls as well. Even on the broadcast side, don't have to talk this much. But it was fun. I'm losing my voice, so I will make this short here. As we read the lists new 8-week roster, starting with, 2 check-ins in 2018, the final 2, 2018, and then to 2019. If you're playing the home game, you will be hopefully inserting in the 00, the blank space that is 00, mark in a station that has, I guess by virtue of just being out there enough and being diligent in checking in a whole bunch of times. I don't know if he's in the million tube club yet. So each time you check in a radio, if it has 11 tubes, and you check them in, if you've checked in a million tubes yet, this station would be one of them that would be up there. That's SWL 56, Mr. Phil, a.k.a. Grandpa. Thanks for checking in, and you are new 00. Let's see, what else? I've got to redo this list and make sure I get 103 in the right spot. Also, we had, for check-ins tonight, we had 12 on page 1, 16 on page 2, 9 on page 3, and 10 on page 4, for a total, if I do the math quickly, of 28 and 19, which is 47. I'm surprised. I thought we'd have more SWLs. But we did have a lot of radios, and we'll talk about that. Let me set up my main page here for those of you who are watching so that you don't have to look at me. What can we go to? Oh, you know what? We can go to the Orban meter. That's what we'll do. The most heard... Is it off kilter? No, it's fine. The most heard radio tonight. It was almost a 12-way tie. But if I looked at my sheet correctly here, and I'm looking at it again just to make sure, yeah, the general radio telephones with 2. Thanks to the, and they were both, no, one was a Super MC-12 and the other says MC-11A. We'll talk about those. The first radio checking in tonight was the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, and you always know when you start off with the Browning that they're probably going to be the most heard radio, but that was the only one tonight. Paul doing a good job. SWL 45 on the general radio telephone Super MC-12. For Radio 2, Radio 3, Phil 00 on the Lafayette Comstat 25B. Good to have a Lafayette in the mix. We don't hear much of them anymore. The Robin T123 Bravo from Mike for Radio 4. Radio 5, Mr. Ed on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Followed by the Courier Royale, Radio 6 from Chris. The Tram TR 27E was Radio 7 from SWL 7. Radio 8, the ICO Sentinel 23. Nice to have the ICOs back. For Radio 8 from Paul, the Cam 88. Beaconing worldwide, and also, I think Dennis was AM and FM tonight. I'm not sure if it was an AM and FM station coming in, but it reminds me of my good old days of floating grounds. And that wire that just isn't in the right spot. So I'm sure you will find that one. That's also the curse of being close to any type of a 50,000 watt ERP radio transmitter. Radio 10, the Gem Marine Products G-Power Mate from Chris. Radio 11, the Sonar FS23 from Phil, and then a double play from Mr. Go Boy. Radios 12 and 11, the Chris 23 Plus, and the general radio telephone Super MC-11A. Everybody stay safe. Take a deep breath. When you go outside and see all the traffic and the hustle and the bustle, take a deep breath and then smile, and everything will be just fine. No matter what happens, no matter if Grandma gets run over by a reindeer or not, it will be a beautiful holiday season. Hope everyone has a great Christmas or whatever it is that you do, and have a great time with your family or whatever it is that you do, or whoever you do it with. And we will catch you ex post facto. Our next program, next net is on the 27th, at 7, the 29th on Thursday. 5, 6, 7, no, the 27th. I'm sorry, the 20th. I've got the dates wrong. Whatever it is, it's next Thursday. We will be here, and maybe some of you have some nice coax jumpers or FMHTs or tubes in your stocking, and we'll hear all about it. Good night, everybody. 73 from the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Fodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you. We'll catch you next time.
Dennis?
This is the Basic Dennis, over.
Yeah, I think we did this last year, but maybe it's not too soon to start thinking about. Maybe we could have a year-end total for the number of radios checked in, just some foods for thoughts.
All right, this is a good time to do it, because next net will be our show, and I have stacks of piles of stuff, so that gives me plenty of time to do a compilation. Maybe do some stats like the best month for tube radios, the month where everyone's out doing something else. Since I'm not actually putting these into Google Docs, which I should do, that would probably fix everything and do it automatically. Maybe the most heard manufacturer throughout the year. I might be able to do that. I've got 7 days. I may have enough time to try that out. So yeah, we'll try it. If I did have all this in some digital format, I could probably tell everybody if they're in the Million Tube Club. Because the average radio that checks in is 10 tubes, some are more. I mean, you've got an Eagle or when you check in your Demco, you're running 15, 70, you're running a lot of tubes. The standard issue would be 10 tubes. So even if you checked in one radio every week, right, that's 52 weeks times 10, so that's 520 tubes. And if you did it for 10 years, that would be 5,200 tubes. If you did it for 20 years, that would be 10,400 tubes. If you did it for 30 years, that would be 15,600 tubes or something like that. So yeah, if you were real diligent, you might be closing in on the Million Tube Club. All right. I'm making myself dizzy just thinking about it.
Thanks, Dennis. Good night. Good night.
Dennis?
This is the Basic Dennis, over.
When you say 3870, is that 3.870?
That is 3.870 megahertz or 3870 kilohertz. That is in the 75 meter, 80 meter band. So that's the 3 dot something. 3 dot something. And then you would, if you're in the sideband mode, you tune around 3870, 3875, and you'll hear the and you zero beat that, and you put your selector to AM, and if you're lucky, you will hear one of the big boat anchors.
All right, I just wondered if you guys were going to go, so I was going to try to tune in and see if I could listen.
All right. Well, good deal. I would try it and put it up on the stream here, but my antenna is pretty awful, so maybe I'll keep the audio stream up just for a little bit and see how things work. But I would recommend either use your receiver of choice that you have in your shack, or look for the and it's failing me, but it's the SDR radio, and it has a name. And look for the SDR radio online if you have online. That is, at least in this area, in the Santa Cruz area, Web SDR, something like that, where you can get an SDR radio. Others, I think there's one out of Utah. So depending on what you're close to, but you want to hear the West Coast guys, you want the Web SDR that's out of San Jose area. If you can't tune it in direct. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Dennis.
Good night, Dennis. And I've only got this one radio, so I'm going to listen. I'm going to try. I'm out.
All right. I believe it's called the KFS, the King Fox Sierra Web SDR. Good night, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dennis. Christmas, Dennis. Good
Thanks,
night.
Dennis.
Yes, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if you don't hear from me by then, so thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, Dennis. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that good stuff. And we got old Dennis out there with the AM broadcast.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Thanks, guys.
And good night to the video people too. Smarty Jones, I gotta say hello to the video people here. The video's still up. Out of New York. It's got a little tiny window and it just scrolls by so quickly. So sorry if I missed anybody
Good job,
here.
Dennis. Good night.
You are still in. All right, we're gonna check out the web SDR and see what the boat anchor guys are doing.
I wonder
Good
what
night, everybody.
station it is.